Yun Chujio did not care about this, but the Meng Yanshou was a little unhappy. The reason was very simple. Since the female servant had moved away, it could not peep at people bathing. Yun Chujio could not be bothered with this pervert. These days she often went to the library to find some records about Buddha Lotus. Yun Chujio often went to the library in the morning and only returned to her dormitory in the evening. That afternoon Yun Chujio received a message from Leng Kuei, saying that he had something to look for her, so she had to leave the library in advance. Junior sister Little Jiu, my master wants you to go to the meeting hall, Leng Kuei said with a conflicted look. Yun Chujio didn't take it seriously and followed Leng Kuei to the meeting hall on the giant rabbit. Halfway there Leng Kuei coughed and gritted his teeth. Then he said, Junior sister Little Jiu, do you know why master is looking for you? Yun Chujio was stunned. How would I know? Do you know? Leng Kuei's face showed a trace of uneasiness. I don't know either. You can ask master yourself. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Senior brother Leng Kuei, why is your face so red? Does the sect master want me to marry you? Bang. Leng Kuei sat on the ground. Junior sister Xiaojio, don't scare me. I don't dare to marry you. Leng Kuei was obviously frightened. Hey Xinjiu, damn it, was she being despised? Although she had become a little girl now, it was not like she could not change back. Was there a need to despise her so much? Leng Kuei saw that Yun Chujio's small face was covered with a layer of frost. He quickly changed the topic. Junior sister Xiaojio, forget it, I'll tell you. Recently, many female disciples have complained that a few lecherous rabbits peered at them while they were bathing, and they even stole their bellies, purses, and other inner garments. The rabbits they described were those few weird-looking rabbits of yours. Other than the giant rabbit you're riding now, the rest are all suspects. Moreover, it's said that the most rampant one is an ordinary wind-blade rabbit. However, it relied on the protection of the other strange rabbits, and the female disciples were helpless against it. Hei Xinjiu almost fell off the back of the giant rabbit. She knew with her toes that this was all the fault of Meng Yanshou. Those rabbits were obedient to him, so they were naturally ordered by him. If it wasn't for it, the rabbits wouldn't have done such a thing, not to mention there was a eunuch rabbit among them. Yun Chujio gnashed her teeth in anger. No wonder the Meng Yanshou had been so quiet recently. It didn't even read its speech book. It had found a new joy in life, this pervert. This hoodlum rabbit. Although Yun Chujio wanted to deal with the Meng Yanshou and the rabbits were all in Yun Chujio's courtyard, so she could only go to the meeting hall first. Seeing that Yun Chujio didn't say anything, Leng Kuei knew that this matter was most likely true. He said worriedly, Junior sister Xiaojio, those female disciples are all furious. You have provoked the public's anger this time. You have to be mentally prepared. Hei Xinjia's heart was like a muttering dog. If she were the person involved, she would also be furious to death. Damn curly hair. This time she would definitely not let it off. Soon the two of them arrived at the meeting hall. Yun Chujio saw that there were more than 100 female disciples standing in the meeting hall. The corners of her eyes twitched. Curly hair was not picky about food. Some of the female disciples were really ugly. How could he have the appetite to peek at them? When the female disciples saw Yun Chujio enter, they glared at her angrily. However, because of Yun Chujio's cruelty, no one dared to make a sound. Otherwise, they would definitely scold Yun Chujio until she was covered in blood. Master Xiaohou felt that his head, which had not hurt for a long time, started to hurt again. The origin-killing sect had existed for tens of thousands of years, and this was the first time that a disciple's spiritual pet had peeked at someone else taking a bath, and even shamelessly stole their undergarments. It was simply too embarrassing. Master Xiaohu's old face was slightly uncomfortable as he said, Yun Chujio, these female disciples reported that the few rabbits you raised peeked at them taking a bath, and even stole their undergarments. What do you have to say? Although Yun Chujio felt like she was cursing a dog in her heart, she looked like she shared a common enemy. What? There's actually such a thing? If it's true, I will definitely not let those lecherous rabbits off. This is too much. Don't they know that a woman's reputation is very important? Senior sisters, don't worry. If those lecherous rabbits really did it, I will definitely give you justice. The female disciples saw that Yun Chujio was so upright, so their anger calmed down a little. Then they heard Yun Chujio ask, which senior sister can tell me what happened? A female disciple who was a little braver said, a few days ago when I was taking a shower, I could hear some strange noises. However, there was nothing wrong with checking. I thought I was overthinking. However, later I accidentally found a hole in the corner of the bedroom. That's when I found the two damned rabbits. They dug a hole from the flowers in my yard. One of them is a 5-legged rabbit, and the other is an ordinary wind-blade rabbit. Its body is white but its ears are black. The rest of the women saw that someone had taken the lead and started to talk about what had happened. Yun Chujio found that without exception, every time she peeked, there was that damned curly hair. The culprit was none other than it. Senior sisters, I will go back to the courtyard now to interrogate those perverts. If it's true, I will not let you suffer in vain. After Yun Chujio finished speaking, after getting the approval of Master Xiaoho, she rode the giant rabbit back to the courtyard angrily. The nightmare beast and the few perverted rabbits thought that Yun Chujio would come back in the evening today, so they gathered together to study a few bellies and purses. Meng Yanshou said with an experienced, lecherous tone, "See? I bet that Lu Yanyan's undergarments are pink. Am I right?" The lecherous rabbits chimed in a few times, and the eunuch rabbit even raised one of its claws to express its admiration for Meng Yanshou. He Xinjiu was so angry that she almost vomited blood. "You fucking eunuch rabbit still hasn't given up? Shameless. What are you doing? Curly hair. I should have changed you into a toad's shell to prevent you from peeking at me while I'm bathing. All of you get over here." Yun Chujio said angrily while holding a large kitchen knife. Meng Yanshou almost fainted from fright. Meng Yanshou rolled its eyes. He grinned and said, "Little fairy, calm down. Calm down. You've wronged us. We're going to scout for information so that they won't harm you. As for peeping at them bathing, it was just a side trip. Who asked them to take a bath when they had nothing to do? Is it my fault?" Yun Chujio was so angry that she was amused. Side trip? Then these bellies and purses were also stolen by the side trip? You really know how to take a side trip. Now that the female disciples have gone to complain, tell me, what do you plan to do? Those few rabbits were originally instigated by the Meng Yanshou, so they all looked at the Meng Yanshou with eager eyes. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Meng Yanshou grinned and said in a fawning manner, "Little fairy, you definitely can't bear to kill us, right? You definitely have a way, right?" Yun Chujio curled the corners of her lips. "I naturally have a way, and that is to kill you all to appease the public's anger. After killing you all, we can eat stewed rabbits tonight." The few rabbits immediately wilted. Although they did not establish a contract with Yun Chujio, they were inexplicably afraid of Yun Chujio. If Yun Chujio wanted to kill them, they did not dare to resist at all and could only obediently be killed. Seeing this, the nightmare beast opened its red eyes and said heroically, "If you want to kill me, then kill me. One rabbit does things and the other rabbit takes the blame. They were all instigated by me and I am the main culprit." Yun Chujio glanced at it with disdain. "Stop acting like a hero. They don't know that you can't die, so how can I not know? Alright, I'll use you to shut their mouths. Hand over the stolen inner clothes first." Meng Yanshou reluctantly took out the inner clothes that were hidden in its own space and spread them all over the floor. The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched violently and she glared at Meng Yanshou. "Is this all? Take them out for me." Meng Yanshou took out a few precious editions in pain and said regretfully, "Little fairy, look at how exquisite the embroidery is. I was planning to keep them for my wife in the future." "Yun Chujio, are you a retard? You gave your wife someone else's belly and pocket? Aren't you afraid of being beaten into a pig's head?" He Xinjiu snorted coldly and hacked Meng Yanshou's shell to death with a large kitchen knife. Then she took out a rabbit from the great void mystic realm and said to the Meng Yanshou, "Use this to drive the shell." The Meng Yanshou was secretly delighted. It did not expect that the little girl He Xinhuang did not blame it. The sun had really risen from the north. However, when the Meng Yanshou possessed it, it was immediately dumbfounded. Fuck this was actually a female rabbit. Couldn't be played like this. Was it trying to turn it into a man, a woman, a demon? Yun Chujio ignored the Meng Yanshou that was seeking death and carried the Windblade rabbit's corpse back to the meeting hall. Yun Chujio pointed at the Windblade rabbit's corpse on the ground and said, "Senior sisters, I've asked around. Those rabbits were instigated by this lecherous rabbit, so they did the wrong thing. After I asked around, I killed it with one slash. As for the other few, they are only accomplices. Moreover, one of them is a eunuch rabbit. If it weren't for this damned lecherous rabbit, they wouldn't have done such a thing." Moreover, I brought them out of the Earth Tower. Maybe one day the tool spirit of the Earth Tower will take them back, so can you spare their lives for the time being? However, don't worry. I won't let you suffer in vain. I will compensate you for your mental damage. The female disciples looked at the wind-blade rabbit on the ground. It was indeed the one that had peeked at them. Each of them gnashed their teeth in hatred. They wished that they could make a few more stabs. Everyone looked at each other. Yunchuju was not someone to be trifled with. They had already done things to this extent, so there was no need for them to probe further. Moreover, they were just a few lecherous rabbits. Other than being angry, there was not much to lose. Junior Sister Yun, since you say so, we can't say anything more. We can discuss the amount of compensation later. Can you return the clothes that the lecherous rabbit stole to us? The bold female disciple said. Even if the girl's inner clothing was destroyed, it could not fall into the hands of others. If it fell into the hands of a male disciple, it would be hard to say. Yun Chujio cursed the Meng Yanshou in her heart a few more times. Then she said with a smile, "Of course you can. After we leave the meeting hall, we will find a suitable place to discuss the amount of compensation and return the clothes to you." After hearing Yun Chujio's words, the female disciple finally reacted. Those damned rabbits had stolen their inner clothes, so it was naturally not good to take them out in the meeting hall. Thus, she nodded her head uncomfortably and agreed. Yun Chujio said some self-reproaching words to Master Xiahou. It was nothing more than polite words like not being strict in disciplining the spiritual pets and never repeating it again. Master Xiahou nodded his head perfunctorily and also said a few words of admonishment. Then he let everyone leave the meeting hall. After Yun Chujio reached an agreement with the female disciples to compensate them, she returned the inner garments to them. Then she gritted her teeth and returned to the dormitory. The moment she entered the courtyard, the Meng Yanshou pounced over. "Little fairy, please change my outer shell. It's really awkward for a man like me to be inside a woman's outer shell." Yun Chujio kicked the Meng Yanshou away. "Scram to the side, you pervert, you hoodlum rabbit." Seeing that Yun Chujio was in a rage, the Meng Yanshou could only lower its head and remain silent. It could actually get the few rabbits to go to the back of the mountain to catch other demonic beasts, but it did not dare to do so. Now, the Meng Yanshou had discovered that although this little girl's spiritual power was not high, she was black-hearted. Moreover, she was full of evil intentions. It was better not to offend her. Moreover, there was still that person behind her. Yun Chujio scolded the few rabbits and warned them that if they continued to mess around with the Meng Yanshou, they would be turned into roasted rabbits. The rabbits immediately lowered their heads and expressed their regret. They would definitely not get close to the bad guys. The next morning, when Yun Chujio was about to go to the library, Leng Kuei arrived. "Junior Sister Jio, the 3-month period has ended. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao are here to pick you up." Although Leng Kuei's expression was normal, a hint of schadenfreude flashed in his eyes. Although he felt that it was a little inappropriate, he was looking forward to it when he thought of the expression on Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao's faces when they saw Yun Chujio turn into a little girl. "Yun Chujio, no, I'm not going back. I still have to stay in the Origin Killing sect for the next 3 months." Hei Xinjiu shook her head like a rattledrum. It was not easy for her to quell the rumors of the Origin Killing sect, but she still had to go to the Origin Killing sect to suffer? She was not going back. "Cough cough, Junior Sister Little Jio, I'm afraid you can't not go back. It's said that Master Bailey has given Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao his life. If they don't bring you back, they will be punished." Yun Chujio cursed in her heart. Is old man Bailey sick? Didn't he wish that she would never go back? Why did he come to pick her up this time? Hei Xinju thought about it. She had almost finished reading the books in the library of the Murderous Origin sect. It was okay to go back to the Hunyuan sect. She could go to the library to take a look. Therefore, Hei Xinju rode on a giant rabbit and brought a bunch of rabbits out of the dormitory, heading to the mountain gate of the Murderous Origin sect. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were anxiously waiting outside the main gate. They were so happy to hear that Yun Chujio was safe and sound that they almost went crazy. If it weren't for the 3-month deadline, they would have come to pick Yun Chujio up long ago. Just as the two of them were stretching their necks to wait, they saw a giant rabbit jump out from inside. On top of it sat a little girl that was carved from jade. Her big eyes were twinkling and she looked very cute. However, the few that followed behind were rabbits. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao widened their eyes. Oh my, where did the essence-killing sect get these strange rabbits? And who was that little girl? Could she be the granddaughter of one of the elders of the essence-killing sect? The two of them looked at Leng Kuei, who was behind the rabbits. And Lin Chuan shouted, Leng Datu, where is our little ninth junior sister? When Leng Kuei heard and Lin Chuan call him Leng Dati, his face immediately darkened. His heart skipped a beat. He pointed at Yun Chujio and said seriously, isn't this little ninth junior sister? Don't tell me you can't even recognize little ninth junior sister? And Lin Chuan was stunned at first, then he laughed so hard that he almost rolled on the ground. Ha! Leng Dati, I think your head has been kicked by a spirit beast, right? How can a little milk baby be my little ninth junior sister? If little ninth junior sister became like this, wouldn't she still have to hit the wall? Yun Chujio's small face was instantly covered with a layer of frost. Unfortunately, and Lin Chuan wouldn't pay attention to the expression of a little girl. He then laughed loudly and said, Leng Datu, even if you want to lie to me, you have to use your brain, right? Junior sister little ninth is the hero of the human race and my idol. How could she become a baby who hasn't been weaned yet? Look at her small arms and legs. She probably can't even lift a chicken, let alone beat the Nightmare Clan. Leng Kuei saw Yun Chujio's stern face and lit a candle for An Lin Chuan in his heart. With a gloating look in his eyes, he said, An Lin Chuan, what I said just now was the truth. Junior sister Jio has become like this because of some unforeseen events. If you don't believe me, you can ask her yourself. And Lin Chuan was not willing to believe him. Just as he was about to continue shouting, Shangguan Hao pulled him and said in a low voice, Look at that little girl's appearance. She looks very similar to junior sister Jio. I'm afraid what he said is true. And Lin Chuan then carefully observed Yun Chujio's appearance. He was shocked. She really did look alike. However, he still did not believe it. He curled his lips and said, All right, Leng Datu. You really went all out just to tease us. You actually found a little doll that looks so much like junior sister Xiaojio. However, no matter how similar she looks, she can't be junior sister Xiaojio. Leng Kuei snorted coldly. He could not be bothered with this idiot. He turned his head and said to Yun Chujio, Junior sister Xiaojio, I'll go back first. I wish you a safe journey. Yun Chujio nodded. Thank you, senior brother Leng Kuei. And Lin Chuan saw that Leng Kuei had really turned around and entered the mountain gate. He looked at Yun Chujio in disbelief, his mouth was wide open. Junior sister Xiaojio, it can't be you, right? How did you become a little girl? 3 or 4 years old. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth in anger. Long fur, tie him up. The long-haired rabbit was just about to redeem itself when it heard Yun Chujio's order. Its hair immediately grew out and wrapped itself around An Lin Chuan. And Lin Chuan was completely dumbfounded. Was this a rabbit or was this hair turned into a spirit? How could there be such a move? And Lin Chuan hopped and managed to dodge the long-haired rabbit's attack. Before he could heave a sigh of relief, he saw the two-headed rabbit attacking him with fireballs and wind blades. And Lin Chuan's heart was filled with rage. Have all the rabbits in the Yuan killing sect turned into spirits? How could there be a rabbit with dual spiritual power attacks? Shangguan Hao had already confirmed Yun Chujio's identity and pleaded on the side. Junior sister Xiaojio, junior brother Eng's brain isn't working properly, please spare him. And Lin Chuan, you're the one whose brain isn't working properly. Of course, Yun Chujio didn't really want to do anything to An Lin Chuan. He just wanted to teach him a lesson. Therefore, she snorted coldly and called back the 2 rabbits. And Lin Chuan wiped the sweat from his forehead. He said in disbelief, Junior sister Xiaojio is really you? Oh my god. How did you become like this? Can you walk now? Definitely not. Otherwise you wouldn't be riding on the rabbit. Poor junior sister Xiaojio. Yun Chujio gritted her teeth and jumped up from the giant rabbit. He kicked An Lin Chuan in the front. And Lin Chuan didn't expect Yun Chujio to suddenly attack him. He was immediately kicked away and then tied up by the long-haired rabbit. Yun Chujio walked to him with her short legs and kicked him. Not only can I walk but I can also kick people. And Lin Chuan cried out in pain. Damn it, junior sister little Jio had become smaller. How could she be so narrow-minded? However, this kick was really painful. Junior sister little Jio, I was wrong. I was wrong. Please spare me. Yun Chujio glared at him and then let him go. She snorted coldly and ignored him. Although Shangguan Hao was full of curiosity, he tactfully did not ask. The 3 of them boarded the flying spirit tool and returned to the primordial chaos sect. And Lin Chuan clearly remembered to eat but not to hit. He approached Yun Chujio and said with a cheeky smile, "Junior sister Xiaojiu, how did you become a little doll? Are you trying to make up for your lost childhood?" Shang Guanhao lit a candle for him. He was really seeking death. As expected, and Lin Chuan's scream and begging for mercy soon rang out from the flying spirit tool. However, after Lin Chuan's ruckus, He Xinjiu had come to her senses. It was nothing more than a mocking and surprised look. What was there to be afraid of? Therefore, when the flying spiritual device landed in front of the mountain gate of the mixed origin sect, He Xinjiu rode the giant rabbit and swaggered into the mountain gate. The disciple on duty at the mountain gate of the mixed origin sect stopped Yun Chujio. "Little kid, not everyone can enter the mixed origin sect. Please show your jade token." Yun Chujio glanced at them and took out her identity jade token. Yun Chujio? You are Yun Chujio? The disciples looked as if they had seen a ghost. How did Yun Chujio become a little girl? The disciples were stunned when they saw Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao nodding behind Yun Chujio. Was this little girl really the bad guy? Yun Chujio took back her identity jade token from the disciples and rode away on a giant rabbit with a bunch of rabbits. The disciples were speechless. They wanted to say that it was forbidden to ride spirit pets in the primordial chaos sect, but when they thought that the bad news bag was the one who violated the sect rules, they pretended to be blind. Although Yun Chujio had become smaller, it was better to not offend her. And Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao nodded at the disciples and quickly chased after Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio and her string of rabbits immediately caused the chaos sect that had been silent for several months to explode again. Who is the little girl sitting on that big rabbit? Why haven't I seen her before? Damn. What are those things behind her? Are they rabbits too? They should be rabbits, right? But this is the first time I've seen such a strange-shaped rabbit. Judging from the level of spiritual power, it seems to be only level 1. How can there be such a low-level demon beast in the Immortal Essence continent? And Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao looked at each other. As soon as little ninth junior sister returned, the Chaos Origin sect immediately became lively. It was an instant effect. Yun Chujio brought a bunch of rabbits into the meeting hall. Master Bailey and the other peak masters were in the middle of a meeting. When they saw Yun Chujio riding in on the rabbits, they immediately fell silent. Yun Chujio jumped down from the giant rabbit and bowed respectfully. Yun Chujio pays her respects to Master Bailey and the other peak masters. Everyone, were their ears not working or was this little girl's brain not working? Yun Chujio? She was Yun Chujio. What kind of joke was this? After a strange silence, and Lin Chuan and Shang Guanhao chased into the meeting hall, and Lin Chuan said incoherently, "Ha. You guys don't believe it either, right? I didn't believe it before either, but she is junior sister little Gio, the real junior sister little Gio." Shang Guanhao glared at him and said respectfully, "Sect master, peak masters, little ninth junior sister has encountered some unforeseen circumstances, so she has become like this. She is indeed little ninth junior sister." Everyone, after a while, Mountain Master He of Yuheng Peak coughed dryly and said, That little ninth girl, my condolences." No, I mean you should be more open-minded. It's not that. Anyway, it's already like this, so don't be too sad. Mountain Master Zhua of Tianji Peak consoled her. "Yes, little ninth girl, the world is unpredictable. Don't take it to heart." The other peak masters also comforted her. Although they were all pale and weak, they at least expressed their concern. Their thoughts were almost the same. This child had suffered a huge blow, so she might not be in good spirits. Otherwise, she wouldn't be mixed up with a group of strange-shaped rabbits. They probably shared the same fate. Speaking of which, where did she find these strange-shaped rabbits? Yun Chujio did not explain further. Instead she said, "Master Bailey, because of the contributions I made in the Battle of the Nightmare Clan, the murderous Yuan sect has promoted me to an inner disciple. What do you think?" Master Bailey hurriedly nodded. "I will also promote you to an inner disciple immediately. Little Geo girl, if you have any other requests, feel free to ask. Do you need me to send a few female servants to take care of you?" Yun Chujio saw the pity and sympathy in Master Bailey's eyes and almost had goosebumps all over her body. She repeatedly waved her hand. "If I have something to do, I will look for Jean Ji and Sister Bingyu. I just don't know why Master Bailey called me back this time. What are your orders?" Nothing much, nothing much. You should quickly go back and rest. That you two are responsible for sending little Ju back to the dormitory safely. Master Bailey quickly said. Yun Chujia's eyes flashed. They must have something they wanted her to do, but seeing that she had become smaller, they changed their minds. Humph. Forget it, she just couldn't be bothered to meddle in other people's business. After He Xinjiu bowed, she rode the giant rabbit and jumped out of the meeting hall with a bunch of rabbits. Master Bailey and the others looked at each other, then Master Bailey sighed. Let's put that matter aside for now. I didn't expect little Gio to become like this. It's really heartbreaking. Mountain Master Zhua and the others also sighed. How did a little girl suddenly become a little girl? After Yun Chujio came out of the meeting hall, she brought a bunch of rabbits back to the dormitory. Along the way, she naturally received a lot of curious and gloating gazes. He Xinjiu chewed on the spirit fruit and recorded the gloating people in the black ledger. Meng Yanshou, who was riding on the long-haired rabbit, grinned from ear to ear. The little girl from the Chaos Origin sect was even more dainty than the one from the Murder Origin sect. Spring was coming again. When Yun Chujio arrived at the dormitory, Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu were already waiting there. Yun Chujio had thought of many possibilities, but she did not expect it to be like this. Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu held He Xinjia's little face and could not put it down. They changed her hairstyle, brought her a garland, and even changed her clothes. What was going on? But did they treat her like a doll? And Lin Chuan laughed and Shangguan Hao could not help but laugh. Junior sister Jio had turned from a bad person into a cute little bun. She was so cute. Yun Chujio finally got rid of the two girls who were obsessed with her. She held her chin and thought about her next step. After thinking about it, she decided to go to the library and read the books. Even if she could not find the antidote for the rejuvenation pill, she could at least gain some knowledge. Therefore, the next day after Yun Chujio had breakfast, she rode the giant rabbit to the library of the Hunyuan sect. Senior brother, I want to enter the second floor of the library, Yun Chujio said to the disciple who was guarding the library. That disciple was the Lu Shun who made things difficult for Yun Chujio when she first came to the library. He curled his lips and said, Yun Chujio, you servants can only read books on the first floor of the library. Have you become smaller in size and smaller in brain? Suddenly there were snickering sounds around. Yun Chujio realized that many disciples had gathered around the library. They were probably here to watch the show. Who said I'm a handyman? I've already become an inner disciple. If you don't believe me, you can check my identity jade token, Yun Chujio said coldly. Lu Shun laughed loudly. Yun Chujio, it seems that your brain is really not working. An inner disciple? The sect competition hasn't even started yet. How did you become an inner disciple? Don't tell me that you've broken through to the ethereal level? The surrounding people also started to jeer. They were all saying that Yun Chujio had become smaller and her brain was no longer working. Yun Chujio's small face was gloomy like water as she said coldly, I'll ask you one last time, are you going to go through the procedures? Lu Shun was frightened by the murderous aura on Yun Chujio's body. Then he said angrily, no. Yun Chujio, do you still think you are the Yun Chujio of the past? You are now a waste. A waste that is not even 3 feet tall. I can crush you to death with one finger. Good, very good. I will show you who is a waste today. Yun Chujio's small face suddenly revealed a smile, but that smile made people feel a bone-chilling chill. Before everyone could react, Lu Shun had already been sent flying by Yun Chujio's kick. Yun Chujio's kick was much stronger than the one she used to kick in Linchuan. Lu Shun was like a kite with a broken string. He crashed into a large rock hundreds of feet away. Lu Shun, who was hit until he saw stars, did not have the time to stand up. The huge rabbits but smashed into his body. Lu Shun choked and immediately fainted. The giant rabbit reached out its paw and slapped Lu Shun's face twice. More than half of Lu Shun's teeth fell out of his mouth. If the giant rabbit had not used its full strength, his head would have been blown away. Can we do it now? If we still can't do it, then let's change people. Yun Chujio said with a faint smile. Lu Shun glared at Yun Chujio, but he still got up and helped Yun Chujio go through the procedures for the second floor of the library. When Yun Chujio entered the library, Lu Shun immediately knelt down to everyone. My fellow disciples, Yun Chujio has really gone too far. I will go to the law enforcement office to complain. I hope everyone can bear witness for me. The onlookers did not think that it was a big deal. So they immediately started to jeer and followed Lu Shun to the law enforcement office. Manager Zhong had been very relaxed recently, but ever since he heard that Yun Chujio had returned, his right eye had been twitching non-stop. He did not sleep well last night, and he always felt that since the bad news had come back, the law enforcement office would not be able to stop. As soon as he saw the bruised and swollen Lu Shun and heard Yun Chujio's name, he immediately felt his head buzzing. It was over. That bad news bag had indeed caused trouble again. However, even if the crime was confirmed, there was no way to punish her. Sex resources? That little girl was so rich that she didn't even care about sex resources. Think over the cave? Emma, stop fooling around. Think over the cave was the ancestors' foundation. If it was destroyed by her hands, it would be terrible. The meditation cave? Well, it had already collapsed. Manager Zhong couldn't do anything about Yun Chujio, so he blamed it on Lu Shun. He thought to himself, this idiot, why did he provoke that evil star for no reason? She wants to go in, then go in. Why did he have to stop her? Wait, he said that Yun Chujio didn't have the right to go to the second floor of the library building? Manager Zhong looked at Lu Shun as if he was looking at an idiot. Yun Chujio is an inner disciple. Why don't you let her go to the second floor of the library building? Lu Shun was stunned. Isn't she a handyman in the big kitchen? Yesterday the sect leader had already issued a document. In view of Yun Chujio's great contributions in the battle of the Yen clan, she was made an exception to become an inner disciple. It was just that she had not had the time to announce it. However, the information on her identity jade token has been changed. Didn't you see it? Manager Zhong's tone carried a hint of ridicule. Lu Shun was dumbfounded. He had not checked Yun Chujio's identity information carefully at all. Who would have thought that Yun Chujio had really been turned into an inner disciple? Then wouldn't he have been beaten up for nothing? The surrounding crowd instantly exploded. That Yun Chujio had actually been broken through and turned into an inner disciple? Everyone had different reactions to this. Some thought that Yun Chujio had made a contribution in the battle of the Yen clan, and it was natural for her to be turned into an inner disciple. Some thought that no one knew what had happened during the battle of the Nightmare clan. Maybe it was just a rumor. Besides, it was a different matter. What right did Yun Chujio have to enjoy special privileges? Lu Shun left the law enforcement office embarrassedly. When he returned to his courtyard, he found a person standing in the courtyard. Lu Shun was about to open his mouth to speak when that person said coldly, "Do you want to take revenge? If you do, then do as I say. Don't worry, after the matter is done, I won't mistreat you." Lu Shun gritted his remaining teeth and nodded. Of course I want to take revenge. I can't wait to tear that wretched girl into pieces. What do you want me to do? The man whispered a few words. Lu Shun hesitated for a moment and then nodded in agreement. For a few days Yun Chujio had gone to the library early to read. She would only leave in the evening. She had met Lu Shun a few times during this period. Yun Chujio did not make things difficult for him. Lu Shun acted as if nothing had happened and went through the procedures for Yun Chujio to enter the second floor of the library as usual. On this day when Yun Chujio arrived at the library, it was still Lu Shun who was on duty. Lu Shun took Yun Chujio's identity jade token and registered it. Then he handed Yun Chujio a jade token. After Yun Chujio took the jade token, she walked into the entrance of the library. Lu Shun's eyes revealed a trace of gloating. "Yun Chujio, this time you're dead for sure. This is all your fault, you bitch." Meng Yanshou and the few rabbits were busy peeping at the female disciples bathing every day. They had learned their lesson this time and didn't steal the inner clothes so they wouldn't be easily discovered. However, they didn't peep at Yi Bingyu and Jin Ji, who were closest to Yun Chujio's courtyard, because rabbits don't eat grass near their nests. Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu were about to break through in the next few days, so they were in closed-door cultivation. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao had left the Primordial Chaos sect because they had been assigned a trial mission. Therefore, after a few days, no one noticed that Yun Chujio was missing. It was not until Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu had successfully broken through and came over to report the good news to Yun Chujio that they realized that Yun Chujio had not returned to her dormitory for a few days. The two of them suddenly felt that something was not right. Even if little Jio was addicted to reading, it was not to the extent that she had not left the library for so many days. Moreover, the identity jade token and the voice transmission talisman could not contact her. Something must have happened. Meng Yanshou was immediately dumbfounded. "It's over. It's over. If His Majesty knew that it was only concerned with peeping at the female disciple taking a bath and had let the black-hearted little girl fall into a dangerous situation, he would definitely not spare it. Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu quickly found Master Bailey. Although Master Bailey felt that Yun Chujio should not be in any danger in the sect, he still sent people to search the sect. After searching, they found an unbelievable fact. Yun Chujio did indeed enter the library, but she disappeared into thin air. Jin Ji and Yi Bingyu almost searched the library, but they did not find any clues. Where exactly did little Jiu go? Although Lu Shun also cooperated with everyone to help find her, he laughed wildly in his heart. You guys go ahead and search. You'll never find her. She might have already died. Several days passed in a row, but there was still no news of Yun Chujio. Master Bailey and the others regretted it. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have brought her back. But now she was nowhere to be found. Where exactly did she go? Before the waves had subsided, another wave rose. The groups of disciples who had gone out for the trial returned one after another. However, they returned in a miserable state. They had suffered heavy casualties from the attacks of the murderous Yuan school. Even Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were severely injured. If they didn't have the talismans and chili noodles that Yun Chujio had given them, they might have lost their lives. Master Bailey and the others were furious. The primordial murder sect was really going too far. Although the two sects had not been on good terms, they were only fighting for benefits and did not directly hurt anyone. Now the primordial murder sect had openly killed the disciples of the primordial murder sect. It was intolerable and they had to seek justice. Before the primordial murder sect could make a move, Master Xiaohou of the primordial murder sect came to kill them. Bai Liyin, you don't deserve to be a human. Your Chaos Origin sect actually killed dozens of our Killing Origin sect disciples. What are you trying to do? Master Bailey almost lost his breath. He cursed angrily, Xiaohou Lin, you are the villain who sued first, distorting the truth. It was clearly your Killing Origin sect that killed our Chaos Origin sect disciples, and you still have the face to accuse us? Both sides argued endlessly and there were witnesses and evidence. The relationship between the two sects became tense. At this moment, the disciples of the murderous Yuan sect were assassinated one after another, and the 4 grand elders of the murderous Yuan sect were all poisoned. The mastermind directly pointed the finger at the murderous Yuan sect. The last bit of rationality of the people of the murderous Yuan sect was crushed. Master Xiaohou officially issued a letter of challenge to the murderous Yuan sect, and both sides officially started a war. As the two super sects, the Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect, each had their own sphere of influence and had quite a few affiliated sections. The moment they started the war, almost half of the Immortal Essence continent was involved. Alliance Master Yen of the Sky-Bearing Alliance hurriedly mediated from the middle, hoping that the misunderstanding could be cleared up and the tense situation could be alleviated. Alliance Master Yen's thoughts were pretty good, but both sides had been blinded by anger. No matter how clever he was and how eloquent he was still unable to ease the tense situation. The Killing Origin sect and the Chaos Origin sect clashed one after another. For a moment, everyone was in a panic. The cities near the two sects had almost become empty cities. As the conflict intensified, both sides were bloodthirsty. They agreed to fight to the death in Qingyuan Valley on the 5th of June. Soon it was the 5th day of June. Master Bailey and Master Xiaohou each brought their elites to Qingyuan Valley. Alliance Master Yen also arrived with the people from the Sky-Bearing Alliance. He tried his best to persuade Master Bailey and Master Xiaohou. Alliance Master Yen talked about the relationship between the two sides from the interests of the human race. Finally, he let out a long sigh. The two sects are originally from the same sect. They're like branches. Why do we have to fight each other? Master Bailey and Master Xiaohou showed hesitation on their faces. Elder Gui of the Primordial Murder Sect said while coughing, Martial Nephew Xiaohou, although what Alliance Master Yen said makes sense, the Primordial Chaos Sect is ruthless and merciless. They killed countless of our disciples. We have to take revenge. Now there is only one solution. That is to destroy the Primordial Chaos Sect and bring the disciples of the Primordial Chaos Sect into our Primordial Murder Sect. This way there will be no more conflicts in the future. When the people of the Chaos Origin sect heard Elder Gui's words, they were instantly enraged. This was simply bullshit. Why didn't he say that he would merge the Killing Origin sect into the Chaos Origin sect? Their Chaos Origin sect was vicious and merciless? It was clearly the Killing Origin sect that had killed the disciples of the Chaos Origin sect in a sinister and crafty manner. Immediately both parties started quarreling again. Alliance Master Yen revealed a helpless expression. It seemed that this big battle was unavoidable. Once this big battle started, regardless of whether it was the murderous Origin sect or the Hunyuan sect, they would suffer heavy losses. If the Yen clan suddenly attacked at this time, the human defense line would probably be completely defeated. At that time, the lives of the people would be plunged into misery, and the consequences would be unimaginable. Just as Alliance Master Yen was thinking about it, the two sides had already started to fight. He could only take his men and retreat a little to avoid being implicated. Leng Kuei and Enlinchuan were fighting. Leng Kuei said coldly, "Enlinchuan, for the sake of our past friendship, I'll cover you and Shangguan how to leave this place." Enlinchuan snorted coldly, "Then I really have to thank you. But our primordial chaos sect doesn't have cowards who run away at the last minute. Let me give you a piece of advice. Your murderous primordial chaos sect will definitely suffer a crushing defeat. I'll cover you. You can leave." Leng Kuei did not reply. He tightened his attacks and the two of them started fighting. Master Xiaohou and Master Bailey were also fighting each other. Master Bailey said while fighting, "Xiaohou Lin, I originally did not have the intention to cause any more trouble, but why did your murderous primordial sect force us repeatedly? If you did not kill our disciple, why would we fight? Don't fucking say nice things. Do you think I'm willing? It's all because your primordial chaos sect didn't do things properly. Not only did you kill so many of our disciples, you even tried to assassinate our Grand Elder. You are purely trying to destroy our Shiyuan sect. You are slandering people. It wasn't our primordial chaos sect who did it. It wasn't your primordial chaos sect who did it. Could it be that our Shiyuan sect did it ourselves?" Just as chaos broke out, there was a loud bang. Everyone was stunned by this loud bang. Everyone looked in the direction where the loud bang had come from. They saw rocks rolling down from a small mountain peak in the distance, emitting black smoke. It was obvious that many talismans had exploded. Everyone was shocked. Who had done this? Just as everyone was feeling bewildered, a soft child's voice said, "A bunch of idiots. The nightmare race has just stopped and you're already killing each other? Is that a head or a bun on your neck?" Following the voice, a large chopping board flew over from afar. On it stood a little girl that was carved out of jade. However, the expression on her face was very cold, causing people to subconsciously ignore that it was just a little girl. Everyone looked at it and cursed. Wasn't this bad news, Yin Chujio? Didn't they say that she was missing? Where did she come from? Moreover, she actually said that they were all idiots and that there was a bun on their necks. How dare she? Was she crazy? Master Bailey and Master Xiaohu's expressions were also very ugly. They were already filled with anger. Now that Yun Chujio's words were like adding oil to a fire, they naturally didn't have any good expressions. Master Bailey took a deep breath and said, "Yun Chujio, seeing that you are young and ignorant, I will not pursue your crime of speaking without rhyme or reason. Your spiritual power is too low. Why don't you hurry back to the primordial chaos sect?" At this time, Yun Chujio had already flown above the crowd. This guy was sitting on the chopping board and did not jump down. She snorted slightly and said, "My identity is a bit special. Do you think I am a member of the primordial chaos sect or the murderous sect? When you fight, do I still have to stare with my left eye and right eye, hit my right hand with my left hand and kick my right foot with my left foot?" Master Bailey paused for a moment, then he said, "Since your identity is special, don't get involved in the matters of our two sections. Moreover, you're just a small inner sect disciple. How can you have the right to speak? Why don't you hurry back to the Chaos Origin sect?" "Sigh. We can't go back. You guys probably don't know, right? It was because you idiots were instigated by others to sow discord, and then began to rebel against each other. Taking advantage of the critical moment when you guys went crazy here, the Divine Devil Hall has already occupied the Chaos Origin sect and the Murder Origin sect. Now you guys could fight to your heart's content. After all, there was no sect left. It would be better if all of you were dead. That's right. Even if all of you were not dead when the Nightmare Clan and the Divine Devil Hall joined forces, you guys would still be dead. Sooner or later you guys would have to die. You guys might as well fight in pairs." Just strangle each other to death. Yun Chujio said coldly while hugging her shoulders. What? The Chaos Origins sect and the Killing Origins sect had already been taken over by the Divine Devil Hall? Could they really have fallen into the Divine Devil Hall's scheme? Master Bailey and Master Xiaohu's faces immediately turned pale. Their bodies were drenched in cold sweat. Both of them took out their voice transmission talismans and trembled as they sent voice transmission talismans to the people left behind. Master Bailey. Zhuo, Mountain Master Zhuo, are you still alive? The Chaos Origin sect has really been taken over by the Divine Devil Hall? Mountain Master Zhuo was confused. Sect Master, what are you talking about? The Chaotic Origin clan is as usual. How are things over there? Master Bailey, Mountain Master Xiaohu, Mountain Master Zhao, are you still breathing? The Killing Origin clan has really been taken over by the Divine Demon Hall? The lively Mountain Master Zhao. Sect Master, are you cursing me? Don't you see the people from the Divine Demon Hall? Has the victor been decided? Master Xiaohu. Master Bailey and Master Xiaohu let out a long sigh. Then their faces turned ashen. This Yun Chuji was going to fly into the sky. Fuck, alright, she's floating in the sky now. The two of them gritted their teeth and looked at He Xinjiu in the sky almost at the same time. Yun Chujio, how dare you lie to us? What are your intentions? Yun Chujio said unhurriedly, are you angry? Why do you sound like you want what I said to be true? Do you want the Divine Devil Hall to occupy the Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect? Master Bailey and Master Xiaohu were insulted. Of course they did not mean it that way. They were only tricked by He Xinjiu for a moment. Alright, you guys should hurry back to your respective sects now. Otherwise what I said will immediately become true. You guys aren't 3-year-old children. Can't you see the tricks behind it? Little Bailey, little Xiaohu, you guys can be considered to have known each other for many years. Don't you know each other? Would either of you make such a stupid decision to kill each other's disciples? As long as the Primordial Murder sect and the Primordial Chaos sect went to war, there would be no absolute victory between the two of you, only mutual destruction. I don't have time to talk nonsense with you now. Little Bailey and little Xiaohu, you can stay. I have something to tell you. The rest of you quickly scram back to your respective sects. If you continue to dawdle, you will be the sinners of the Primordial Chaos sect and the Primordial Murder sect, the sinners of the Immortal Origin continent, the sinners of the human race. Hurry up and scram. Whoever finds a fucking reason not to go back now or insists that the other party is the murderer, blah blah blah, he is a spy of the Divine Devil Hall. I will kill him now. Yun Chujia's little face was as cold as ice. Her eyes were full of murderous intent. Everyone was somewhat dumbfounded. Firstly, they were shocked by the content of Yun Chujia's words, and secondly, it was because of Yun Chujia's high and mighty tone. Little Bailey? Little Xiaohu? What kind of pretense was she putting on? Yun Chujio gave Alliance Master Yen a look. Alliance Master Yen nodded his head in confusion and quickly came forward to say, "Two sect masters, what little Jio said makes sense. No matter what, you should let your people return to the sect first. Even if you want to fight to the death, it doesn't have to be today. If you really let the Divine Devil Hall take advantage of it, that would be terrible." In fact, when Master Bailey and Master Xiaohu had been persuaded by Alliance Master Yen, they had already wavered. They were not fools. They always felt that the recent events were somewhat inexplicable. However, there were too many voices calling for a fight around them. In addition to the long-standing grudges, they had braced themselves to fight. The two of them looked at each other and snorted coldly. They ordered to return to the sect first. Wait. Martial nephew Xiaohu, don't tell me that you've been persuaded by this little girl with just a few words? Not only did the Primordial Chaos sect kill hundreds of our disciples, they also poisoned the 4 of us. Are we just going to let it go? Are we going to swallow our anger and swallow our anger? Are we going to return with our tails between our legs? Master Xiaohu looked at the person who spoke with a troubled expression and said, "Martial Uncle Gui, although Yun Chujia's attitude isn't good, she's right. If the Divine Devil Hall takes advantage of this, we are simply the sinner of the Primordial Chaos sect. As for the Primordial Chaos sect, there will be plenty of time in the future. We will not let this matter go so easily. Sooner or later we will seek justice." Elder Gui snorted, "There will be plenty of time in the future? If we go back like this, there is no guarantee that our disciples will not be assassinated again. Moreover, that wretched girl is not from the Divine Devil Hall. She said that the Divine Devil Hall will take advantage of the situation and take advantage of it? When the people of the Shuyuan sect heard Elder Gui's words, they became restless again. Master Xiaohu's face showed a troubled expression. Although he was the leader of a sect, the hearts of the people were with him. If he went against them, he might cause trouble. Elder Gui's eyes flashed with pride. So what if Xiahou Lin was the leader? At the crucial moment, his words did not count. Little Yen, bring some men and kill him. Yun Chujio stood on the chopping board and said coldly. Little Yen? Who is Little Yen? Who was Yun Chujio calling? Also, who was she going to kill? Could it be that she was going to kill Elder Gui? What a joke. Yen Jingdao, did you not hear what I said? I said before that whoever deliberately tried to sow discord would be someone from the Divine Demon Hall. As the Grand Elder of the Murder Origin sect, that old man didn't try to cause trouble but instead started it. One look and you could tell that he wasn't a good person. Kill him. What are you looking at me for? You're the Alliance Master of the Heavens Legacy Alliance. The Alliance Master is already sullen enough to do this to you. If you don't want people to be plunged into misery and the Immortal Essence continent to be destroyed in an instant, then kill him for me. Yun Chujio pointed at Alliance Master Yen and said. Alliance Master Yen, Little Yen? He was the Grand Alliance Master of the Sky-Bearing Alliance and his name was Little Yen? What a joke. Besides, although he was the Alliance Master of the Sky-Bearing Alliance, he didn't dare to kill the Grand Elder of the Murder Yuan sect in public. Wasn't this going against the Murder Yuan sect? Elder Gui was stunned at first, then he looked at Yun Chujio viciously and said, Yun Chujio, you are just an inner disciple, how can you spout nonsense here? I will kill you today to clean up the sect. As Elder Gui spoke, he summoned his immortal sword and flew towards Yun Chujio. His purpose was obvious, he wanted to kill Yun Chujio. What happened? Am I right? You are a spy of the Divine Devil Hall. What poison? It was all self-made and self-acted by you. Now you want to kill me when you are desperate? Dream on. Do you think everyone is a fool? Can't you see your true colors? Yun Chujio shouted as she placed the chopping board next to Master Bailey. She didn't believe that Master Bailey would just watch her be slapped to death. Sure enough, Master Bailey blocked Elder Gui. Elder Gui looked at Yun Chujio who was hiding behind Master Bailey and gritted his teeth. Ignorant Junior, today I will make the decision to expel you from the murderous Yuan sect. If you ever step into the murderous Yuan sect again, I will kill you without mercy. Who are you calling a junior? You are the fucking junior. I am your ancestor. Yun Chujio pointed at Elder Gui with one hand on her waist and said. Everyone looked at Yun Chujio who was not even as tall as Master Bailey's waist and felt that it was both infuriating and ridiculous. This little girl must be crazy. Yun Chujio saw that Master Bailey, Master Xiahou and Alliance Master Yen did not move, so she gritted her teeth. She took out 2 simple rings from her storage ring. I was originally very low-key. I didn't want to expose my hidden identity. Since you guys are so disobedient, the little ancestor, can only go online. Take a look at what this is. These are the sect leader rings of the Primordial Chaos sect and the Murderous Origin sect that my 2 masters passed on to me. I am the last disciple of Patriarch Yuan Tian and Patriarch Hong Yuan. There was a dead silence at first and then there was an uproar. That troublemaker is really crazy. She is the last disciple of Patriarch Yuan Tian and Patriarch Hong Yuan? Damn, I am dying of laughter. Exactly, this troublemaker is really greedy. One is not enough, but she is the last disciple of 2 patriarchs? Does she still have any face? She isn't even a successor disciple now. And she said she is the last disciple of 2 patriarchs? She is really shameless. She got 2 broken rings and said she is the last disciple of 2 patriarchs? Does she think we are all idiots? And Lin Chuan moved to Yun Chujio's side and tugged at her. He said in a low voice, Junior Sister Xiaojiu, stop fooling around. If this matter is blown up, there will be no way to end it. Yun Chujio glanced at him. 19th generation grand disciple, get lost. And Lin Chuan, this guy must have possessed some acting talent, right? 19th generation grand disciple? He had a pretty good calculation. Master Bailey and Master Xiaohou stared at the ring on Yun Chujia's hand and turned pale with fright. Although they had never seen the sect leader's ring, they had seen the design of the sect leader's ring. This was exactly the same as what was recorded in the sect's annals. Yun Chujio handed the ring to the two of them generously. Little Xiaohou, little Bailey, take a look for yourself and see if this is the sect leader's ring. If I had to say, it was my two masters who had a brilliant plan. This time I was accidentally tricked by a treacherous person. After my two masters saved me, they told me that I must promote the harmonious coexistence between the two sects. They were originally brothers, but they fought for such a long time because of a moment of anger. They were simply too stupid. They even taught me the songs that they had composed together. I'll sing it for you to listen to. The rolling Yangtze River flows eastward, and the waves wash away the heroes. Right and wrong, success or failure, the green mountains are still there and a few sunsets are red. Although everyone thought that Yun Chujio sounded like she was speaking the truth and her singing sounded very serious, but how was this possible? Would the two patriarchs really accept her as their last disciple? Elder Gui stared at the ring on Master Xiaohu's hand. He snorted coldly. Yun Chujio, none of us here have seen the sect master's ring. How can we prove that the ring you took out is real? Maybe you copied it according to the records in the sect's annals. And that song was weird. Maybe you made it up. Made it up? I met two masters on Mount Budian. It's a pity that my two masters have seen through the mortal world and refuse to come out with me no matter what. Otherwise, why would I let you, a bastard, jump around here? I would have killed you long ago. However, my two masters have opened my 8 extraordinary meridians and 720 acupoints in my body. I am now at the first level of the spiritual void tier. Take a look if you don't believe me. Everyone saw that the level of the spiritual energy in Hei Xinjia's body soared rapidly. Very soon she had changed from the 6th level of the spiritual profound tier to the 1st level of the spiritual void tier. Everyone was in an uproar. By God! Yun Chujio is most likely telling the truth. Otherwise, how could a person's spiritual energy have improved so much in just a few days? Witness. Corroborating evidence. Everyone was dumbfounded. How could there be a witness? Other than the two ancestors, how could there be a witness? Elder Gui revealed a contemptuous expression. This Yun Chujio was simply spouting nonsense. It was impossible for her to have a witness. As long as he insisted that the two sect leader rings were fake, regardless of the final outcome, he could at least delay for a period of time. By then he would have succeeded. Plang, plang. After 2 loud bangs, a stone pai xiao and a stone lion were placed in front of everyone by Yun Chujio. Everyone cried out in surprise. Oh my God, isn't this the guardian stone beast of their primordial chaos sect? But it really is a real proof. How did he get this bad news bag? Tell them, are my 2 sect leader rings real or not? Yun Chujio placed her small hands behind her back and said pretentiously. Sure, Pishio said eagerly, of course it's real. They're all blind. They can't even recognize the sect leader ring. Sure, Lion echoed, that's right. Who can imitate such a high-class ring? Besides, we can testify that this sect leader ring is real. This little fairy is your ancestor. Everyone, what exactly did Yun Chujio do to these 2 stone beasts? Why didn't they look like Pai Xiao and the lion but more like pugs? However, with the testimony of the guardian stone beasts, everyone finally believed Yun Chujio's words. It seemed that she was indeed the last disciple of the 2 ancestors. Little Dong, little Nan, I order you to capture this Gui. I want to interrogate him. Yun Chujio pointed at Gui and ordered. The stone pai xiao and the stone lion rarely had the chance to show their skills. Hearing Yun Chujio's order, they immediately threw themselves at Gui. Although they were stone beasts, their spiritual power was higher than that of everyone present. Otherwise, Hei Xinjia would not have used sweet words to lure these 2 to help. Yun Chujio blinked her eyes. Little Xiaohou, little Bailey, little Yen, don't just stand there. Tack together. Finish the battle as soon as possible. The 3 little generation looked at each other, smiled bitterly and then joined the battle. At first Elder Gui still quibbled, but later he was forced to the point that he had no strength to fight back. He could only grit his teeth and persevere with an ashen face. Seeing that things were not going well, his eyes flashed and he had just bit his finger when he heard Yun Chujio stretching her neck and shouting, he wants to use the secret technique of the resurrection lily. Don't let him succeed. Sure Pichio gave Elder Gui Yi's spiritual energy shield a claw and the spiritual energy shield was instantly broken. The stone lion did not want to be outdone and opened its bloody mouth towards Elder Gui Yi's head. Elder Gui Yi was so scared that he hurriedly dodged. Behind him, Master Bailey gave him a palm strike on his back. In less than 15 minutes, Elder Gui Yi's spiritual energy was restrained and he was brought in front of Yun Chujio. Little Xiaoho, don't talk nonsense with him. Just use the soul-searching technique. Don't worry, he is already half dead. He can't resist your soul-searching technique. Master Xiaoho saw that Elder Gui Yi wanted to use the secret technique of the resurrection lily, so he no longer doubted Yun Chujio's words. He immediately used the soul-searching technique on Elder Gui Yi. Unfortunately, as soon as Master Xiaoho's spiritual sense entered, Elder Gui Yi bled to death from all 7 orifices. Apparently, Elder Gui Yi's spiritual soul was forbidden. While everyone was stunned, Yun Chujio put her little paws on her back and said with her little legs, "That's enough. The most important thing now is to hurry back to the sect. As for the other matters, I have my own arrangements." My ancestor? Everyone felt a bit of a headache when they heard this title. However, what this fellow said was not wrong. She was really their ancestor. Master Bailey and Master Xiaoho did not have the mood to think too much about whether this ancestor was their ancestor or not. They immediately brought their own people back to the sect. Alliance Master Yen thought for a moment and asked the people of the sky-bearing alliance to station outside the Primordial Chaos sect. He then followed Master Bailey into the Primordial Chaos sect. The reason why Alliance Master Yen chose the Primordial Chaos sect was very simple. Before the ancestor left, he said to him, "Little Yen, follow me to the Primordial Chaos sect. When I investigate the matter, you will also be a witness." Alliance Master Yen recalled the first time he met Yun Chujio. At that time the little girl was very obedient. He did not expect that she would turn into a little ancestor who was posturing. It was simply a trick of fate. After arriving at the mountain gate of the Hunyuan sect, Yun Chujio did not put down the stone Paixio. This fellow was very shrewd. She was afraid that someone would find trouble with her if they were not satisfied. With these 2 stone beasts, she would at least have more protection. Anyway, there was still one at the gate. She would just treat it as a shift for them. As Hei Shinjio had a high seniority, this fellow was the first to enter the sect on a giant rabbit. Everyone followed behind her with a conflicted expression. As soon as everyone entered the mountain gate, Mountain Master Zhuo, Mountain Master En, and the others came out to welcome them. Mountain Master En saw Yun Chujio on top of the giant rabbit. He immediately shouted sternly, "Yun Chujio, why are you, a mere inner sect disciple, walking in front of the sect master and alliance master Yen? Also, the disciple on duty reported that you kidnapped a stone Pichio. Aren't you going to hand it over quickly?" Mountain Master En had always been biased against Yun Chujio. He felt that it was because of her that Lin Chuan had always been against him. Although he had improved a little later on, he still felt a little displeased. Yun Chujio sat on the giant rabbit and glanced at Mountain Master En. "Little En, why are you talking to me? 19th generation great disciple and Lin Chuan, come here. How should we punish our Hunyuan sect for disrespecting our elders?" And Lin Chuan's heart was on the verge of collapse. "Junior sister Little Gio, no Little Gio, I know that you are venting your anger for me, but can we not do this? That is my biological father." Master Bailey was afraid that Yun Chujio would stir up any more trouble. He quickly said from the side, "Mountain Master and Mountain Master Zhuo, Little Gio. Little Yun is the last disciple of Forefather Yuan Tian and Forefather Hong Yuan, so he should be ahead of us." Mountain Master and Mountain Master Zhuo, the people behind them. This world was so wonderful. In just half a day, this bad news bag had turned from a thief who stole the stone Pichio into their little ancestor Yun. "Sect Master, how is this possible? Have we been deceived by her again?" Mountain Master En said with a dumbfounded expression. "She has the Sect Master rings of the 2 forefathers in her hands, and it has been verified by the guardian stone beast. It is indeed true." Master Bailey said. Master Bailey was also very helpless, okay? He was also very confused, okay? Who would want such a little ancestor to suddenly appear? And it was the kind of ancestor who would stir up trouble every few days. Forget it. This ancestor is magnanimous. I won't argue with you juniors. Well, this ancestor has been running around for half a day and is very tired. This ancestor will go back to the sleeping hall to rest first. You guys play by yourselves. Tomorrow morning I'll give you guys a lecture. After Hei Shinjio said that, she rode on the giant rabbit and disappeared without a trace. The messy crowd in the wind. Sleeping palace? You fucking call a broken courtyard a sleeping palace? They play by themselves. Lecture? This guy was so smug that he wanted to stand shoulder to shoulder with the sun. Although everyone felt that Hei Xinjia's smug look deserved a beating, when they thought of their reckless actions this time, their faces burned. Although they were not 100% sure that this incident was caused by the Divine Devil Hall, there was a 90% chance that they had fallen into a trap. It was simply too embarrassing. On the other side, Hei Shinjio had just entered the courtyard when she saw Meng Yanshou leading the other 4 rabbits in the courtyard to obediently stand in a line to welcome her. Little fairy, it's great that you've returned safely. I knew that little fairy would be blessed with great fortune and good fortune. Shall definitely be fine, Meng Yanshou came over and said eagerly. Yun Chujio glanced at it. I wasn't here during this period of time. You didn't do anything good, right? Meng Yanshou shook its head guiltily. Little fairy, I've already changed my ways. Besides, I'm a woman now. Why would I peep at a female disciple taking a bath? After Meng Yanshou finished speaking, Sambin's mouth twitched. Oh no. There was no silver here. Yun Chujio kicked Meng Yanshou away. You dumbass. Looks like I have to turn you into a toad or else you'll always be a hoodlum, a rabbit. Meng Yanshou almost lost half of his life from the kick. He said with a trembling voice, Little fairy, I can make up for it. I didn't peep at you bathing for nothing. I've made a big discovery. Yun Chujio squinted her eyes. What big discovery? Meng Yanshou laughed a few times, then he said, recently when we peeked at the female disciples taking a bath, we also watched a few hot and passionate performances. From their conversation, we learned that a few of them were spies from the Divine Devil Hall. Yun Chujio was stunned. She didn't ask why Meng Yanshou didn't tell Master Bailey and the others about this information. The reason was very simple. If Meng Yanshou were to rashly inform them, Master Bailey might not believe it. Most likely these rabbits would be silenced and Meng Yanshou's identity would be exposed. Meng Yanshou was very smart. Naturally, it wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Tell me, what did they say? Who are they? Damn it. Why didn't you come find me for so long? I missed you so much. Shut up. Tell me the main point. Yun Chujio was so angry that she wanted to kick Meng Yanshou to death. This guy was getting more and more wretched. Meng Yanshou smiled embarrassedly and quickly told her the important things. After saying that, he took credit for it to Yun Chujio. Little fairy, I told you that I was spying on them and watching them take a bath. You didn't believe me? Now do you believe me? Yun Chujio didn't have time to pay attention to it. She told Master Bailey the names of the people that Meng Yanshou told her through the identity jade token. She told him to immediately control these people and interrogate them. She thought for a moment and asked Master Bailey to arrest Lu Shun again. This time she was in a dangerous situation. It must be Lu Shun's doing. After Yun Chujio finished giving her instructions, she placed the stone Pai Xiu behind the courtyard and the stone lion in front of the courtyard. Then she let Meng Yanshou lead a few rabbits to patrol. After that, she washed up briefly and sat on the headboard to ponder about this matter. Actually, it wasn't the right time to expose her identity. After all, she was only at the first layer of the spiritual void tier, and her strength was still too weak. However, if she hadn't revealed her identity at that time, it would have been difficult to stop the conflict between the two factions. It seemed that she would have to be extra careful in the future. This was also why she kept calling her ancestors so high profile. As more people paid attention to her, those who wanted to make a move would have to be wary. Just as Yun Chujio was pondering over it, the Meng Yanshou came in eagerly. Little fairy, I've asked De Zhuang and the others to keep an eye on it. Let me have a chat with you. Yun Chujio was well aware of the Meng Yanshou's purpose. It must be that the female rabbit's body was inconvenient to use, so it took the opportunity to beg her. Sure enough, the Meng Yanshou rambled on for a while, then said slyly, Little fairy, I've done a meritorious deed this time. Can you help me change the male rabbit's shell? Yun Chujio glanced at it. Those are all male rabbits. I'll give you the body of a female rabbit. Won't it be convenient for you to communicate with each other? Meng Yanshou suddenly felt that the world was spinning. Oh God, this black-hearted little girl was so vicious. She actually wanted those stupid rabbits to take away its tens of thousands of years of virginity? Oh God, she was the most vicious woman. Meng Yanshou revealed a sorrowful and indignant expression. Little fairy, I didn't think that you were actually such a little fairy. To think that I was afraid for you. To think that I couldn't eat or sleep well because of your disappearance. You actually treated me like this. I don't want to live anymore. Meng Yanshou was about to hit the wall and commit suicide when Yun Chujio faintly said, You hit it. I can help you change into a toad's shell. Meng Yanshou, damn it. He couldn't live anymore. No wonder Xingzun, that 10,000-year-old single dog, was trapped by her. This guy simply ate people without spitting out their bones. Meng Yanshou squeezed out a smile. Little fairy, I was just joking. By the way, you have been missing for such a long time. Where did you go? Yun Chujio didn't go against Meng Yanshou this time. She simply told him what happened. Back then, after Yun Chujio entered the library, she took the jade token that Lu Shun had given her and placed it in the groove at the entrance of the second floor. She had thought that she would be teleported to the second floor of the library. Who would have thought that a blinding white light would come? When Yun Chujio regained her sight, she realized that she was in the middle of a raging fire. Fortunately, she had the fire-repelling pearl. Otherwise, she would have been burned to ashes by now. She looked around and found that she was in the middle of a volcano, surrounded by boiling lava. While Yun Chujio was watching, the little flame impatiently jumped out of her right palm and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yun Chujio knew that the little flame must have gone to look for the fire marrow. Usually, there would be fire marrow in places with volcanoes, but the difference was the age. Yun Chujio finally climbed out of the volcano after a long time. A few days later, when the little flame was full, she left the volcano. After walking for a few days, she finally met a few cultivators when she arrived at a valley. Yun Chujio quickly rode the giant rabbit to the front of those people and asked about this place. Unexpectedly, those cultivators looked at each other and then revealed a malicious look. Little girl, where are your parents? Did you get separated from your family? Yun Chujio blinked her big eyes. Yes, I'm lost. Can you uncles take me out of here and help me find my parents? Of course. As long as you are obedient, I'll give you candy. A cultivator with a pointy mouth and monkey cheeks handed Yun Chujio an oil paper bag. Yun Chujio happily took the oil paper bag and said with a smile, Well, Little Flower likes candy the most. The few of them revealed a smile of success. This little girl was too gullible. However, what did a 3 or 4-year-old little girl know? This little girl was so pretty. If she was sold in a furnace, a tripod, or a restaurant, she would definitely fetch a good price. Yun Chujio ate the sugar balls and followed the few cultivators out of the valley. Uncles, why haven't you found my father and mother? Hei Xinjiu tilted her head and asked anxiously. Little girl, we will take you to the city to find your father and mother. You will see them soon. The man with the pointy mouth and monkey cheeks said perfunctorily. Yun Chujio nodded gratefully. You are really good people. Good people will be rewarded. I heard that if you do something bad you will be struck by lightning. Please don't do anything bad. Those few people curled their lips. Struck by lightning? If they were struck by lightning after doing something bad, they would have died hundreds of times. Boom. A bolt of lightning descended from the sky and struck the monkey-faced man. Although he was not seriously injured, it almost scared him to death. The faces of the few of them turned pale. Could it be that they were really going to suffer retribution? No, this must be a coincidence. They were about to enter the city. As long as they made a move on this child, they would be able to obtain tens of thousands of high-grade spirit stones. At worst, they could just finish this job and quit in the future. In the end, greed triumphed over fear, and the few of them brought Yun Chujio into the city. Yun Chujio pondered in her heart. Her crow's mouth skill was sometimes effective and sometimes not. So far she had not found the reason. What exactly was the reason for it? When she came back to her senses, the few of them had already brought her to a place called Spring Joy Restaurant. The corner of Yun Chujio's eyes twitched. Furnace, cauldron and restaurant? Wasn't this the brothel in the eyes of cultivators? Were they planning to sell her here? The madam was a gorgeous woman. When she saw Yun Chujio's appearance, she was immediately stunned and returned to normal in an instant. Others did not notice the change in the woman's expression, but Hei Shinjio saw it clearly. Her heart thumped. Could she be a member of the Divine Devil Hall? The woman bargained with those people and finally bought Yun Chujio for 30,000 high-grade spirit stones. Yun Chujio looked at the backs of those cultivators and her eyes flashed. She had already poisoned their food. These people would not live past tonight. Little girl, where are you from? Did you get lost with your parents? Lin Yang asked in a gentle tone. Yun Chujio saw that there was a probing look in her eyes, but there was no malice. She thought of something and said, my maternal family is the Mo family of Fengli City in the Western continent. It was because of my mischievousness that I got lost with them. The Mo family of Fengli City? You said you are a member of the Mo family of Fengli City? Lin Yang suddenly raised her voice. Yun Chujio blinked her big eyes and asked curiously, Aunt, do you know me? Yun Chujio pretended to be curious and asked, Aunt, who is Sister Lan? Is she Xiao Hua's grandmother? Lin Yang came back to her senses and said perfunctorily, nothing, you are called Xiao Hua? Don't call me aunt, call me. Lin Yang was very troubled. Could it be that she wanted this little guy to call her aunt? Could it be that aunt wants me to call you elder sister? Aunt is so young and beautiful, you can also call me elder sister. Hei Shinjio tilted her little head and suddenly said with big eyes. There was no woman who did not like being praised for being young and beautiful. Lin Yang was coaxed by Yun Chujio until she could not close her mouth. Then call me aunt. Little girl, what are the names of your mother and father? When did your mother return to the Mo residence? After Lin Yang finished speaking, she felt that it was inappropriate to ask. This little girl was only 3 or 4 years old. How could she possibly know how her mother returned to the Mo residence? Unexpectedly, the little girl said crisply, my mother's name is Yun Chujio. My father's name is Di Baiming. My mother was brought back by the Mo family. I heard my mother say that my grandmother's name is Yi Lan. The sister Lan you mentioned must be my grandmother, right? My mother never believed that my grandmother was dead. Seems that my grandmother is really still alive. That's great. Lin Yang was stunned by Yun Chujio's words. Was this a 3 or 4-year-old child? She was practically a demon. However, Sister Lan was such a brilliant person. It was understandable that her granddaughter was so smart. And where is my grandmother? Take Xiaohua to see her. Yun Chujio held Lin Yang's hand with her little claws and begged. Lin Yang's eyes reddened. She squatted down and hugged Hei Shinjio. She sobbed and said, your grandmother has been taken away. You will probably never see her again. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Was she taken away? Didn't she say she was dead? Why was she taken away again? Although Yun Chujio really wanted to reveal her identity, she felt that it was better to observe and make sure that Lin Yang was reliable. Lin Yang wanted to post the missing person notice but was stopped by Yun Chujio. Auntie, my mother and father have many enemies. If they know that I'm here, we will all die. I have my own way to contact them. Auntie, don't worry. Lin Yang saw that she was a shrewd person, so she let her be. In the next few days, Yun Chujio stayed at Chuanxi House. Only then did Yun Chujio know that the place she was at was over 1,000,000 miles away from the primordial chaos sect, and it was very remote. No wonder Lin Yang did not have any reaction when she heard her name. One had to know that, Yun Chujio could be considered a big figure now. Lin Yang cared about Yun Chujio very much. Yun Chujio tried to get information from her several times, but Lin Yang rejected her because she was too young. She said that she could only tell her when her mother came. Yun Chujio, damn it. She had dug a hole for herself. There was no other way. After a few days, when Yun Chujio found out that Lin Yang was really reliable, she revealed her identity. Of course, Lin Yang didn't believe it at first. How could a living person turn into a little girl? Yun Chujio could only briefly explain what happened after she returned to the Mo family and how she became the Yi family's daughter-in-law. After a lot of proof, Lin Yang finally believed Yun Chujio's words. Aunt Li, don't be angry with me. I've offended too many people, so I have to be careful, Yun Chujio said in a flattering manner. Lin Yang patted her little head and sighed, you're smart. You're indeed Sister Lan's daughter. Yun Chujio then asked, Aunt Li, what exactly happened back then? Everyone in the Mo family said that my mother died of illness. However, when I discovered that the grave had been stolen, I had some doubts in my heart. Humph. How could those idiots from the Mo family be a match for Sister Lawn? Sister Lawn merely used a golden cicada to escape from her shell. Sister Lawn had taken a medicine that could cause a state of suspended animation. After she was buried, I waited until everyone had left before I rescued your mother. Yun Chujio saw that Lin Yang's face was filled with admiration like a fangirl. The corners of her eyes twitched. She did not expect Lin Yang to be her mother's little fangirl. Aunt Li, I still don't understand. Why did my mother marry Mo Qing? Lin Yang looked at Yun Chujio worriedly. Little Jiu, there's something you might not know. You're actually not Mo Cheng's child. Lin Yang was afraid that Yun Chujio would suffer a blow. Even if Mo Qing was no longer a thing, he was still much better than an illegitimate daughter. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio clapped happily. Really? That was simply too good. I was wondering how that bastard could be my father. Then why did my mother marry Mo Qing? Who on earth is my father? To be able to give birth to such a smart and intelligent daughter like me with my mother, he must be very powerful. The corner of Lin Yang's mouth twitched. Was she praising her father or herself? I don't know who your father is either. Sister Lawn didn't tell me this. The reason why Sister Lawn married Mo Qing back then was because after she became pregnant, her spiritual power started to weaken and it was becoming more serious. She was a single woman and she was afraid that the Yi family and Fan family would chase after her, so she could only agree to Mo Cheng's proposal. However, she had told Mo Qing beforehand that they were only in name, and they gave Mo Qing a lot of spirit tools and pills as compensation. Mo Qing probably took a liking to Sister Lan's beauty and thought that after a long time he could fake it and do it for real. Secondly, he also got some benefits, so he readily agreed, Lin Yang said to Yun Chujio. Yun Chujio thought about Mo Cheng's actions. Every time he mentioned her mother, he would call her a bitch. He looked so angry that he must have wanted to put on a real show but was rejected by her mother. What happened after that? How could I be separated from my mother? Lin Yang sighed. The day Sister Lawn gave birth to you was supposed to be a beautiful day. Who would have thought that the moment you were born, there would suddenly be wind and rain, lightning and thunder? Moreover, the lightning that struck that day was purple. Sister Lawn watched helplessly as you suddenly disappeared. Even the little quilt on her body disappeared along with you. Sister Lawn fainted on the spot. Because of your loss, Sister Lan's health had not been very good until half a year later. She knew that she could not count on the Mo family to find you, so she thought of a way to fake her death. Then she left the Mo family to find your whereabouts. She had always believed that you did not die prematurely. Lin Yang looked at Yun Chujio with a gratified look and then continued. After that, your mother successfully left the Mo family. After disguising herself, she brought me around to look for you. But where can I find you in such a vast sea of people? Just like that, your mother and I searched for you for 3 years, but there was still no trace of you. Suddenly, one day, a few people appeared and chased after me and Sister Lawn. Fortunately, Sister Lawn was very smart and had already recovered her spiritual power by that time. She used a strategy to kill all those people one by one. Sister Lawn was afraid that someone would come after her, so we ran all the way here. We thought that this place was very remote and wouldn't be found. I didn't expect that something would happen in the end. On the way, she heard the news that the Primordial Chaos sect and the Murder Origin sect were on bad terms. She was extremely anxious and hurried back, but it was still a little too late. This guy thought about it and could only abduct the Stone Paishio and the Stone Lion. As for the method to abduct them, it was very simple. The world was so big, take them to have a look. Yun Chujio did not hide anything from the Meng Yanshou. After explaining everything, she asked, Curly Hair, what is the name of the continent that is one level higher than the Immortal Origin continent? There are many continents that are higher in level than the Immortal Yuan continent. However, the nearest continent should be Towering Sky continent. Meng Yanshou thought for a while and said. Yun Chujio frowned. Curly Hair, there is something that I don't quite understand. How did these high-level continents and low-level continents form? Why are there so many continents? Meng Yanshou pretended to walk on the ground twice before saying, well, you don't know. When Hundun was first created, there was only one continent between heaven and earth. Yun Chujio was stunned as she listened to Meng Yanxia's story. Meng Yanxia was obviously very pleased with itself. It wagged its short rabbit tail and continued. At that time it was also known as the primordial era. There was no record of that era at all. After that, an unknown change happened. A piece of land became two pieces. That era was known as the ancient Mesozoic era. The record was also blank. That's not right, curly hair. Since there are no records, how did you know? Yun Chujio asked in confusion. Meng Yanxiu said proudly, I don't know how I knew. Anyway, I knew it. It's probably because I'm good looking. Yun Chujio almost vomited. To be so narcissistic, there was no one else. Meng Yanxiu continued, tens of thousands of years later, the two continents suddenly began to break apart, and eventually became several continents with different levels of spiritual power. This was the last generation of the ancient era, which is what you humans call the ancient era. Divine artifacts and ancient divine beasts were also produced in the last generation of the ancient era. Soon after, the first great war between gods and demons broke out. After the gods and demons demarcated their territories, they lived peacefully for tens of thousands of years. Tens of thousands of years later, another change occurred. The gods inexplicably began to die one by one, and in the end, not a single one was left. This made the demon extremely happy. He thought that they had finally arrived at their world. Unexpectedly, after tens of thousands of years of reproduction, the human race began to develop and grow. The demon race's attacks on several continents ended in failure. Meng Yanxiu said as he vigilantly observed his own situation. He was afraid that he would be punished by the Tiandao. However, there was nothing unusual. It seemed that these words could be said. Yun Chujio received a huge shock. It turned out that what she knew was just the tip of the iceberg. However, all the gods had been destroyed, so was it really impossible to see Chi-Chi again? When the Meng Yanxiu saw Yun Chujio's distracted look, it curled its lips. No matter how powerful it was just a little girl. How could it be compared to an ancient beast like it? However, it seemed to have lost a part of its memory. Otherwise, it would be even more awesome. Just as the nightmare beast was feeling proud, it heard Yun Chujio snort coldly, curly hair, aren't you very proud? Meng Yanxiu suddenly shrunk its neck. Little fairy, what are you talking about? I will always be your beast and will always listen to your orders. Yun Chujio glanced at it. If I want to go to the towering sky continent, what can you do? Little fairy. Whether I have a way or not, you can't go. With your level of spiritual power, you are just an ant in the towering sky continent. You will definitely be gnawed until there are no bones left. When I went from the Qingxian continent to the Tianyuan continent, or from the Tianyuan continent to the immortal Yuan continent, I was just an ant. What about now? Am I not still their ancestor? Cut the crap. Just tell me how to get to the towering sky continent. Yun Chujio's eyes were full of confidence and dazzling. Meng Yanxiu didn't dare to not say it. He could only say, there are two ways. One is that after your cultivation base reaches the peak of the 9th layer of the ethereal space realm, you will be teleported to the towering sky continent. The other way is to find the enchantment between the immortal Yuan continent and the towering sky continent. Through the enchantment you can enter the towering sky continent. However, little fairy, you must not be rash. Being rash is the devil. Meng Yanxiu was so regretful that its intestines turned green. If it had known this would happen, it would not have shown off in front of this little girl. If the Venerable One knew that it was the one who said it, he would definitely not spare it. Yun Chujio glanced at Meng Yanxiu, who had nothing left to live for. Don't worry. I'm only at level 1 of the spiritual void tier now. The most important thing now is to increase my spiritual power and find the antidote. I don't want to be like this forever. However, seeing that you've performed well, it'll change you into a male rabbit's shell. Meng Yanxiu was so happy that he could finally be a real man. Otherwise, it would be even worse than that eunuch rabbit. It would be a rabbit demon that was neither male nor female. After Yun Chujio sent Meng Yanxiu away, she pondered over her next plan. First, she had to resolve the dispute between the Chaos Origin sect and the Killing Origin sect. However, this was not a difficult matter. As long as she could find out who the traitor was, the matter would be solved. On the other hand, her identity was a problem. Those old fellows would definitely be against the sudden appearance of their ancestors from the bottom of their hearts. It was inevitable that they would find fault with her, so she had to be careful. However, with the great sword of seniority, as long as she handled it carefully, there should not be any problems. Next was the antidote. She still had to continue to go to the library of the Primordial Chaos sect to read books and strive to find the antidote as soon as possible. It would be best if she could also find a way to get rid of the Guaichao. Lastly, it was the problem of cultivation. Thinking of this, Yun Chujio suddenly sat up from the bed. It was not a bad thing for her to become smaller. That old bastard Tian Dao did not kill her last time. Now that he knew that she had arrived at the Primordial Chaos sect, he might let the heavenly lightning strike her. He had to find a place to hide. Otherwise, she would not be able to withstand the heavenly lightning. Yun Chujio thought about it and thought of a good place. It was the Azura prison in the forbidden area of Tianheng Peak. As for the method to seduce the Azura prison, it was very simple. She could just use the Azura spring to seduce it. After Yun Chujio had thought these things through, she finally rested. The next day, Hei Xinjiu rode a giant rabbit and brought a bunch of rabbits out of the courtyard. Now Hei Xinjia's ancestral identity had already spread throughout the entire Primordial Chaos sect. Therefore, when they saw Yun Chujio, the servants and disciples all had awkward expressions on their faces. They should greet her. They really could not call her their ancestral name. If they didn't greet her, they would be afraid that Yun Chujio would find fault with them. Therefore, everyone avoided her from afar as if they were avoiding the god of plague. Yun Chujio, damn it! This wasn't how it was supposed to be played. It turned out that they despised her as a bad person, so these people ignored her. Now that she had become their ancestral, these people actually ignored her. This was really too much. The lonely and cold Master Bailey went to the meeting hall with his head drooping. Master Bailey and the others also wanted to hide, but unfortunately they couldn't. They could only brace themselves and bow. Greetings, little ancestor Yun. Master Bailey finally enjoyed the treatment of an ancestor. He waved his hand pretentiously, no need for formalities. You kids are really too polite. Did you have a good rest last night? The corner of Master Bailey's eyes twitched violently and he said perfunctorily, we had a good rest. Thank you, little ancestor Yun, for your concern. Yun Chujio shamelessly sat on Master Bailey's seat and slapped the table. It's not that I, as an elder, want to criticize you. You made such a big mistake, but you can still sleep? You guys are really big-hearted. Forget it, you guys are still young. As an elder, I won't say much about you guys. You guys should take care of yourselves. Little Bai Li, what did you do about the matter that I asked you to do yesterday? Everyone's old faces were red. They were scolded like grandchildren by a 3 or 4-year-old little girl. However, what she said was still reasonable. It was simply too shameful to see people. Master Bailey said with a flushed face, the people you asked me to capture have all been captured. Through interrogation, they are indeed people from the Divine Devil Hall, but they are all at the lowest level and do not have any valuable clues. Moreover, before we found him, that Lu Shun had already been killed to silence him. Yun Chujio had expected this, so she was not too surprised. She turned to Alliance Master Yen and asked, Little Yen, you were there during the interrogation yesterday, right? Alliance Master Yan's face stiffened for a moment, then he nodded. Since that's the case, when the peace talks between the two sects come as the third party, you can be the witness. Little Bai Li, there must be spies from the Divine Devil Hall in the Primordial Chaos sect. In the next few days you should focus on this matter. If there's nothing else, I will go to the library to read. Everyone looked at each other. Finally, Master Bailey asked, Little Ancestor Yun, can you tell us what happened when you saw the two ancestors? Yun Chujio had already prepared a script in her head. This fellow was good at telling lies. Master Bailey and the others did not doubt him at all. This guy did not tell the others that Patriarch Yuan Tian and Patriarch Hong Yuan were dead. He thought that if they thought that the two patriarchs were still alive, they would be afraid and would not harm her. Seeing that the others had nothing more to ask, Yun Chujio rode the giant rabbit and left the meeting hall with a bunch of rabbits. Looking at her back, Master Bailey and the others sighed silently. A new ancestor appeared out of nowhere. It was hard to explain in one word. News came from the Shi Yuan sect that they had caught some spies from the Divine Devil Hall. However, there were not many valuable clues. Yun Chujio could not help but admire the master of the Divine Devil Hall. He had done a good job in keeping the information confidential. She had been dealing with the Divine Devil Hall for a long time, so she only knew the tip of the iceberg about the Divine Devil Hall. This guy had been reading books in the library for the past few days, but he had little effect. He did not find any information about the antidote or the Guai Chao. Moreover, the heavenly lightning that she had been hoping for did not strike her. Xinjia's mood became less cheerful. The moment this fellow's mood became bad, the entire primordial chaos sect would suffer as well. It was to the extent that the disciples of the primordial chaos sect avoided this ancestor as if she was the god of plague, afraid that she would vent her anger on them. Master Bailey only had one wish now, and that was to hurry up to 3 months. Hurry up and send this ancestor to the Shi Yuan sect, and stop tormenting them. On this day, just as Ancestor Jio was wreaking havoc, the voice transmission talisman inside the storage ring started to vibrate. Yun Chujio picked it up and took a look. It was actually from Xue Wuji. Yun Chujio hurriedly sent her spiritual sense in, and Xue Wuji's anxious voice came from inside. Little sister Jio, Di Biming's old illness is acting up. Right now we can only use your blood to temporarily save his life. You must come here immediately. Yun Chujio's head buzzed and she almost fell off the giant rabbit. She steadied her mind. Tell me where you are and I'll rush over immediately. The ice abyss of the immemorial ice field. Little sister Ju, it's very dangerous here. You must be careful. I understand. Everyone saw that Yun Chujio's expression was very bad, and they didn't dare to ask for trouble, so they all dispersed. Yun Chujio immediately rode the giant rabbit to find Master Bailey. Little Bailey, I have something urgent to leave, but am afraid that the Divine Devil Hall will target me, so you have to cooperate with me and help me distract the Divine Devil Hall's attention. Master Bailey, are you leaving? Where are you going? To the Shi Yuan sect? Master Bailey asked in confusion. No, I'm going to save someone very important to me. You don't have to ask. Just do as I say. Yun Chujio said coldly. Master Bailey then realized that this bad news bag had a serious expression. Clearly something big had happened. Little Ancestor Yun, do you need the sect's help? Yun Chujio shook her head. No need. It's more convenient for me to do things by myself. There's no time to lose. You must immediately do as I say. Yun Chujio had thought of bringing some people from the primordial chaos sect with her. However, the ancient ice plains were extremely cold, and the 100,000 feet deep ice abyss was bone-chilling. She had the 10,000 years fire marrow on her body to resist the cold, but the others couldn't. Bringing people with her would be a burden. Moreover, she was not sure who else in the primordial chaos sect was a spy from the Divine Devil Hall. If she were to invite a wolf into the house, it would be even worse. After Yun Chujio told Master Bailey about her plans, she returned to the dormitory and began to make some preparations. That afternoon, news spread out from the primordial chaos sect. 2 months later, the Hunyuan sect held a grand ceremony for Yun Chujio to become the last disciple of Patriarch Yuan Tian, inviting all kinds of heroes to come. The next day, disciples of the Hunyuan sect set off one after another to send invitations to various sects and clans. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao were also assigned tasks. Of course, they also had an important task, which was to bring Yun Chujio out of the Hunyuan sect without anyone noticing. After flying for hundreds of miles, the Flying Spirit Tool found that there were no abnormalities around Bailey. The Flying Spirit Tool landed in a valley. Junior sister Xiaojiu, did something happen to the Almighty? Do you really not need our help? And Lin Chuan asked with concern. He had forgotten to address Yun Chujio when he was anxious. Yun Chujio's small face was unusually serious. I can go alone. You guys go and deliver the invitation as usual. Don't give yourself away. And Lin Chuan and Shangguan Hao had no choice but to nod in agreement. Seeing Yun Chujio take her short legs and board another Flying Spirit Tool, the two of them felt very stifled. They couldn't help her in any way. They could only pray that junior sister Little Jio was doing well. After Yun Chujio and Lin Chuan separated, they pushed the speed of the Flying Spirit Tool to its limit. He had to hurry. If she was even a moment late, she might regret it for the rest of her life. If it were not for the fact that she wanted to attract the attention of the Divine Devil Hall, she would have set off immediately yesterday. Yun Chujio sped all the way. When she slept at night, she asked Meng Yanshou and the others to be on guard. She did not dare to delay for even a moment. On the way, Yun Chujio and Xue Wuji used voice transmission talismans a few times. She did not dare to contact them too frequently. If the voice transmission talismans went wrong, it would really make things worse. Yun Chujio hurried and finally arrived at the edge of the immemorial ice field half a month later. Even if it was the edge, it already made people feel a bone-piercing cold. The immemorial ice field forbade flying, so Yun Chujio could only ride the giant rabbit and run wildly. When the giant rabbit was exhausted, Yun Chujio rode the Xiaohong red fox and continued to run day and night. Due to the pressure released by Yun Chujio, she did not encounter any demon beasts at the beginning. After all, the demon beasts living on the edge were not high level. Shui Wuji's voice transmission talisman rang again. Sister Xiaojiu, there are only 3 bottles of blood left. You should speed up. Yun Chujio frowned. 3 bottles of blood could only last for 6 days at most, which meant that she had to reach the bottomless ice abyss within 6 days. Time was very tight. Yun Chujio was extremely anxious. At this moment, the entire ancient ice field was suddenly covered by dark clouds. Wu Yun's heart sank. But could it be that he wanted to strike her now? Yun Chujio's heart sank. There was no divine weapon here for her to dodge. Wouldn't her life end here? No wonder he didn't strike her before. It turned out that he was waiting for an opportunity to strike her. This old bastard Tiandao was really sinister. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. She couldn't just sit around and wait for death. She commanded the giant rabbit to charge forward with all its strength. Perhaps it might discover something ahead. Unfortunately, due to the enormous pressure, the demon beasts on the ice field had long found a place to hide. Other than large patches of moss and low-level spiritual plants, there wasn't much to discover. Boom, boom, boom. Continuous heavenly lightning struck Yun Chujio's body. Yun Chujio had no choice but to keep the giant rabbit and run with her short legs. Wu Yun in the sky was very arrogant and proud. Let's see where you can hide this time. I must kill you this time. In the blink of an eye, 6 hours had passed. Yun Chujio no longer had the energy to continue running forward. Yun Chujio had no choice but to release Xiao Hanyo and Xiao Mogu and let them share a portion of the heavenly lightning. However, it was still of no use. Wu Yun was determined to kill Yun Chujio this time. The nightmare beast helped Yun Chujio carry on for another hour. Seeing that Meng Yanshou was about to go into hibernation, Yun Chujio had no choice but to put it back into her spiritual beast pouch. At this moment, Yun Chujio's body was already bleeding, and her meridians had reached their maximum capacity. Yun Chujio bit her lips. He couldn't die. He still had many things to do. The gigolo was still waiting for her to save him, her mother was still waiting for her to save her, and she still had to find a way to see Chi-Chi. She had to survive. Yun Chujio's divine sense gradually became absent-minded. In her blurry vision, she seemed to see a person appear in front of her. Gigolo? How was this possible? Didn't his old illness recur? Di Biming protected her under his body, continuously forming seals to resist the heavenly lightning. Only then did Yun Chujio realize that Di Biming's figure was not a physical entity but a phantom. She subconsciously lowered her head to look at the jade token in front of her chest. Indeed, the jade token had already been shattered. Yun Chujio was stunned. She did not crush the jade token. How could the jade token be shattered? She looked again and saw that her body was covered in blood. It was probably because her blood had soaked the jade token and triggered it. Suddenly Yun Chujio was shocked. Wu Yun was fuming in the sky. It was not easy for her to run to this godforsaken place, and yet another damn thing came out to help her resist the lightning. She was so mad. Unfortunately, He Xinjie was not killed by the lightning until evening. Hey Wang Banyan, you can't kill me. I advise you to kill yourself. Your survival is a disgrace to the dark cloud world, Eunuch Yun. Do you think your conscience won't hurt when you bully a weak child like me? Wu Yun in the sky trembled a few times. You are so shameless. You are still weak. You are a pervert. Although Wu Yun was furious, the power of the lightning was almost exhausted. He Xinjie was still alive and kicking. Could only fly away in anger. Yun Chujio saw that Wu Yun had flown away. She finally heaved a sigh of relief. She had finally passed this hurdle. She turned to look at Di Biming's shadow and saw Di Biming looking at her with an inexplicable expression. His eyes were filled with heartache, guilt, and reluctance. Little Gio, I've already found your mother's whereabouts. She's trapped in the Yun family of Towering Sky Continent. There's a passage leading to Towering Sky Continent under the 100,000 feet ice abyss. However, your spiritual power is too low right now, so you must not go to Towering Sky Continent rashly. You have to promise me that you'll go after your spiritual power reaches at least the 8th layer of spiritual space, understand? In addition, I've found the antidote for the rejuvenation pill for you. When you see Shui Wuji, he'll give it to you. At this moment, Di Baiming's shadow was already very faint. Yun Chujio suddenly panicked. Prince Charming, why are you saying all this? We will meet soon. You can tell me when the time comes. Di Baiming's tone suddenly became stern. Little Gio, you must remember my words. If you don't cultivate properly, I will not forgive you. Yun Chujio stretched out her hand, but she didn't catch anything. Di Baiming's shadow completely disappeared in front of her eyes. Yun Chujio's mind was blank. With trembling hands, she took out Shui Wuji's voice transmission talisman. Male god, how is he? After a long while, Shui Wuji's low voice was heard. Little Gio, Di Baiming suddenly broke through the hard ice just now. Seems that he used some secret technique. Now it's better for you to come over and take a look for yourself. Yun Chujio's small body shook a little. She had a bad feeling that something must have happened to the gigolo. After being stunned for a moment, Yun Chujio summoned a giant rabbit and ran toward the ice abyss. No matter what happened, the gigolo would not die, definitely not. Even if he really died, she would change her fate and save him. Suddenly, 2 level 43 immemorial bears appeared in front of them and blocked their way. Yun Chujio looked at them coldly. Get lost. The 2 immemorial bears roared crazily with disdain in their eyes. Was this little human girl crazy? Although she was in the first layer of the ethereal space realm, her small body was no match for them. Seeing that the 2 immemorial violent bears did not move aside, Yun Chujio's body was filled with a violent aura. Her dark eyes were filled with purple lightning. The 2 immemorial violent bears subconsciously took 2 steps back and felt that their spiritual sense was a little absent-minded. Before they could react, Yun Chujio had already passed them on her giant rabbit and was flying forward rapidly. The 2 immemorial violent bears immediately flew into a rage out of humiliation and chased after them relentlessly. It was not easy for them to meet a cute little girl, and they were still waiting to improve their food. Although the giant rabbit's speed was not slow, it was clearly not as fast as the 2 immemorial violent bears on the ice plains. They were soon caught up. Yun Chujio turned her head fiercely and glanced at the 2 immemorial violent bears. When the 2 immemorial violent bears saw the small purple lightning in Yun Chujio's eyes, they could not help but stop in their tracks. Yun Chujio's small body suddenly jumped up from the giant rabbit and slapped one of the immemorial violent bears on the head. The giant rabbit was so scared that it closed its eyes. Was this little girl stupid? Why did she directly make a move? Instead, she let go of that supposedly very powerful pig. The 2 immemorial violent bears were also dumbfounded. They thought to themselves, so she was a silly child. No wonder she was a little doll wandering on the ice field. She was a fool. The immemorial violent bear that was attacked by Yun Chujio did not even dodge. It thought that its skin was tough and its flesh was thick. A little girl's palm would not harm it at all. Moreover, the little girl had jumped over to its mouth by itself. At that time, it would be able to kill the little girl with a single swipe of its paw. Bang! The giant rabbit's heart sank. It was over. That black-hearted little girl was dead just like that. It did not expect that after dodging the heavenly thunder, it would actually seek its own death. The giant rabbit opened its eyes and immediately fell to the ground in shock. It saw that the giant immemorial violent bear had been forcefully flattened. It lay on the ground looking like a piece of bare skin. The living immemorial violent bear was already paralyzed with fear. Yun Chujio stood in front of it, but it did not even dare to attack. Its eyes were filled with fear. Yun Chujio stretched out her small claws and established a temporary contract with it. Then she kept the huge rabbit and sat on the immemorial violent bear's back, letting it move forward at full speed. The immemorial violent bear was still frightened as it ran. Oh God! Where did this monster come from? She actually killed her companion with a single slap? Could it be that she was hiding her true strength and was actually at the 8th or ninth level of the spiritual space realm? Meng Yanshou no longer had a shell. It floated around in the spiritual beast pouch, and its 4 vertical pupils flashed with a suspicious light. The black-hearted little girl was a little strange. There was a small purple lightning in her eyes. How could there be lightning in a human's eyes? Moreover, she killed a level 43 demonic beast with one slap. The foxes were completely enraged. They chased after them crazily. Yun Chujio acted as if she did not see them and only urged the ancient violent bear to run faster. The ancient violent bear was puzzled. This little demon could clearly kill those damn foxes, so why didn't he make a move? How would it know that Yun Chujio did not want to waste time? Therefore, every time the foxes approached, Yun Chujio would throw out a stack of talismans, followed by the sound of the talismans exploding and the cries of the foxes. After repeating this a few times, the foxes stopped eating. Damn it, this little girl was simply not human. How could she have so many talismans? Although those talismans were not fatal, they couldn't withstand the large number. Yun Chujio encountered a few groups of demonic beasts on the way, but she managed to shake them off with her fastest speed. She was not in the mood to fight, she just wanted to see beaming right away. The immemorial violent bear was out of luck. Yun Chujio did not sleep or rest, so it could only follow her and run forward without rest. When it was exhausted, it would remember that it had become a bear's companion, and it would suddenly become lively. Just as it was about to reach the 100,000 feet deep ice abyss, it was stopped by a huge ancient ice long. The ancient violent bear could not help but tremble. This ancient ice long was a level 46 demonic beast, which was equivalent to the 7th to 8th level of the spiritual space realm of humans. Could a little monster defeat it? Get lost. Or it'll kill you. Yun Chujio said coldly. The ancient ice long looked at Yun Chujio with contempt. A little weakling at the first level of the spiritual space realm? And it still dared to talk nonsense to it? It really overestimated itself. The ancient ice long opened its mouth, and several ice arrows shot towards Yun Chujio in all directions. The violent ancient bear was scared silly. Unexpectedly, the little girl on its back shot out small purple lightning bolts from her eyes one after another, splitting all the ice arrows into nothingness. Whether it was the ancient ice long or the ancient bear, it was the first time they saw such a scene. Both of them had the same thought. God, what kind of monster is this? While the ancient ice long was in a daze, the purple lightning bolts gathered into a thick lightning bolt and struck at it. The ancient ice long quickly moved its huge body to dodge. It did not expect the lightning bolt to turn around and strike at it again. The ancient ice long roar was clearly a little dumbfounded. How could this lightning turn around? It was not a spirit beast, so why did it look like it still had intelligence? Before the ancient ice long could react, it saw the little girl release a group of spirit piglets. But strangely, those spirit piglets did not attack it. Instead, they began to kill each other. The ancient ice long. What was going on? Were these piglets crazy? Why didn't they attack it? Why did the piglets bite the piglets instead? Soon it understood the reason. Because Dehua had appeared out of thin air. Dehua, stop it. After Yun Chujio said that, she rode the dumbfounded ancient ice long towards the bottomless ice abyss. The ancient ice long wanted to chase after it, but Dehua's huge body easily blocked its path. The two of them fought together. Yun Chujio did not want to kill the ancient ice long. As long as Dehua could stop it, it would be fine. Her only goal now was to see beaming as soon as possible. As they neared the 100,000 feet deep ice abyss, the temperature dropped rapidly. Even the ancient violent bear with its thick fur could not withstand it anymore. Yun Chujio could only put it into her spirit beast bag and run forward with her short legs. Finally, Yun Chujio walked to the edge of the bottomless ice abyss and looked down. She could not see the end of the abyss, only the biting cold wind that swept down like an ice blade. Yun Chujio set up the spiritual energy shield and thought of a solution. Since it was forbidden to fly, the chopping board was definitely not going to work. The ice walls around her were extremely smooth, and even the sticky threads of the wool ball could not stabilize her body. How could she get down? Yun Chujio finally let the little bastard take out the big turtle shell. Yun Chujio then used several layers of cloth to make a simple parachute and fixed it on the turtle shell. Finally, she covered the turtle shell with several layers of fur. This way, even if she really fell to the ground, she would still have a buffer. Yun Chujio was ready. Only then did she let the turtle shell roll down toward the bottomless ice abyss. While she was falling, Yun Chujio had been carefully observing the condition of the parachute through the cracks. Fortunately, the cloth she used was very tough iron linen. Although some of it was cut by the cold wind, it did not affect her overall use. Finally, the turtle shell rolled down to the bottom of the bottomless ice abyss. The bottom of the bottomless ice abyss was actually a huge ice field at the bottom of the valley. According to Xue Wuji, danger was everywhere below. Yun Chujio was on full alert. Yun Chujio originally thought that it would be very dark since there was no sun all year round. She did not expect that the entire ice field was emitting a faint blue light. Yun Chujio took a closer look and realized that there were many faint blue mosses growing on the ice field. The light was emitted by them. Yun Chujio sprinted with her short legs. She did not run far before she was surrounded by a group of big ants that were also emitting a faint blue light. Yun Chujio had never seen the records of these ants, but it was obvious that they were very ferocious. The eyes of the ants revealed a greedy look. Such a tender little person would definitely be a great tonic for them. It would be a good tonic for their queen. This time Yun Chujio did not even use a warning. She directly released a small flame to burn these big ants. Yun Chujio used the small flame to burn a path and continued to run. Yun Chujio didn't run far before she was blocked by a group of giant blue scorpions. At this time the ants behind her also quickly caught up. There were scorpions in front and ants behind. They were all eyeing this piece of fat meat that was about to reach their mouths. Although Yun Chujio's small flame was powerful, it was still in its infancy stage. It was obviously not strong enough to deal with so many demonic insects. Yun Chujio narrowed her eyes. Countless purple lightning bolts flashed in her eyes again. Countless purple lightning bolts charged at the blue scorpions in front of her. Instantly a burnt smell filled the air. The little flame trembled subconsciously. Clearly it was a little scared. The blue scorpions immediately opened up a path like a tide. Yun Chujio did not even bother to look at them again. She continued to run at a high speed. Following that, Yun Chujio was attacked by several waves of demonic beasts. Although she was delayed for some time, she managed to reach the depths of the icy plain with the help of the little lightning in her eyes. Yun Chujio suddenly stopped and looked in front of her in disbelief. No, this was impossible. Yun Chujio's small body could not hold on any longer and she collapsed on the ground. The little lightning in her eyes also disappeared and she fainted. When Yun Chujio woke up, her eyes were staring at the ice wall in front of her. There was a person sealed in the ice. It was Debeiming. His eyes were closed and he was sealed in the ice expressionlessly. Yun Chujio walked to the ice wall and took out her big kitchen knife. She kept chopping at the ice wall like crazy, but no matter how many pieces of ice she cut, she could not touch Debeiming. It was as if she was isolated by ice to another world. Little sister Jo, calm down. Things are not as bad as you think. Listen to me. Xue Wuji took the big kitchen knife from Yun Chujio's hand and said hoarsely. Yun Chujio's wooden expression finally relaxed. He turned to look at Xue Wuji. Only then did she realize that Xue Wuji and Enfeng were obviously seriously injured. Their faces were pale. No wonder they did not pick her up. Instead they let her come alone. What exactly happened? How did the Prince Charming become like this? Yun Chujio asked with bloodshot eyes. Xue Wuji and Enfeng looked at the mini version of Yun Chujio. If the atmosphere was not too heavy, the two of them would have rolled on the floor laughing. At this moment there was only a strong sense of oppression. Xue Wuji handed Yun Chujio a pill. Little sister Jo, take this pill first. Debeiming said that this pill can help you recover. Yun Chujio took the pill and swallowed it without saying a word. In almost a moment, Yun Chujio's figure changed from a little girl to a 15 or 16-year-old girl. She had never come to Kueishui, so she had always looked like a young girl. Yun Chujio's face was emotionless as she stared at Xue Wuji. Xue Wuji sighed silently. He knew that she was anxious to know what had happened, so he did not hide it and told her the whole story. Sigh. Little sister Jo, I always thought that the facial paralysis was not good enough for you. Every time you were in danger you would solve it yourself. Not only could he not help you in time, but he would also suck your blood from time to time and bully you. However, after I left the Primordial Chaos sect I found out that he had done so much for you behind your back. Xue Wuji said with some emotion. These were his heartfelt words. He had really thought that Di Biming was not good enough for Yun Chujio to treat him well. However, a person could only see one or a few sides of things. They could not see the other sides at all. Xue Wuji looked at Yun Chujio with concern. He then said, that facial paralysis did not allow us to tell you these things. Even this time he did not allow us to tell you about his illness. However, I feel that it is better to tell you. That is why I sent you the news previously. You have been causing trouble in the Primordial Murder sect and the Primordial Chaos sect many times, but Bailey Yin and Xiahou Lin did not expel you from the sect or really punish you. Do you know why? This is because Di Biming has already warned them to secretly protect you. Di Biming gave you a jade token with his spiritual sense. Xue Wuji could not bear to see Yun Chujio like this. However, he continued. Also, not only did he help you find the pill, he also killed the Yun family who wanted to capture you in the immortal Yuan continent. That's why his old illness acted up earlier. However, little sister Jio, you don't have to be too sad. Your facial paralysis is only sealed, not dead. The reason why we came to this bottomless ice abyss is because he knows that he is about to be sealed, and this is the most suitable place. Then how can he break the seal? Yun Chujio's eyes lit up as she asked anxiously. Xue Wuji touched his nose. The facial paralysis said that it will depend on his recovery. It will take at least 1 to 3 years, but he will definitely be fine. This is 10,000-year-old ice. Only your kitchen knife can cut through it. Moreover, Infeng and I are guarding here. Yun Chujio turned her head to look at Di Biming, who was frozen in ice. The pain from the bottom of her heart spread to her entire body and she could barely stand. At the same time she also felt regret for her laziness, but more than that she was angry at the Yun family. The Yun family had captured her mother and wanted to capture her. What were they trying to do? What was the point of having such a family member? Why not just kill her? Yun Chujio's long hair that was draped over her back suddenly fluttered in the wind. Her eyes were filled with purple lightning, and her entire person was filled with a cold, murderous aura. Xue Wuji and Infeng were startled by the murderous aura around Yun Chujio, and they took a few steps back. The two of them looked at each other. What was going on? Was she possessed? While the two of them were at a loss, the murderous aura around Yun Chujio suddenly dissipated. Her body swayed and she finally fainted on the ground. When Yun Chujio woke up again, it was already the next morning. She lied to herself and thought that it was just a nightmare. In fact, she was still in the Primordial Chaos sect and her gigolo was fine. However, when she saw Di Biming inside the ice wall, tears rolled down her face. So this was reality. Even if it was cruel, she could only accept the reality. Xue Wuji looked at Yun Chujio worriedly and said, "Little sister Jio, are you hungry? Eat breakfast." Xue Wuji thought that Yun Chujio would definitely reject him. She would be sad and dispirited for a period of time without eating or drinking. Unexpectedly, Yun Chujio nodded and ate breakfast with the two of them. Xue Wuji saw that Yun Chujio was clearly unable to eat, yet she still stuffed it into her mouth. His nose was slightly sore and he sighed in his heart and did not say anything. After breakfast, Yun Chujio asked calmly, "Is there anything else you want to tell me? What else did the Prince Charming say?" That facial paralysis did not say much. He just told you to cultivate properly. Unless your spiritual power level has reached the 8th level of the spiritual space realm, do not go to Towering Sky Continent. He has already intimidated the Yun family, so he won't come to find trouble with you for a while. Yun Chujio nodded. He'll remember it. Xue Wuji would rather see Yun Chujio cry to her heart's content. It was obviously not normal to be so calm. He recalled Yun Chujio's previous appearance and was very worried. "Little sister Jio, I understand your feelings. The reason why I told you all the things that facial paralysis did was to let you know that he has done so much for you. You must not let his painstaking efforts go to waste. You must not be impulsive and go to Atlas Continent. Brother Wuji, don't worry. I know what I should do. No matter what happens, I will cherish this little life of mine because there are still many things waiting for me to do." Yun Chujia's expression was neither sad nor happy. She said each word with a pause. Occasionally missing content, please report errors in time. Although the enemies who are paralyzed in the immortal Yuan continent have been mostly dealt with, I'm afraid that it will be another tough battle when we reach the towering sky continent. When that time comes, the two of you will probably be separated more than together. Xue Wuji looked at Yun Chujia worriedly after he finished speaking. The corner of Yun Chujia's lips curled up slightly. Everything will be fine. It's just a matter of time. Xue Wuji was stunned. Little Sister Jio's expression was very similar to that of a poker-faced person. Could it be that one who gets close to the enemy is the enemy? In the next few days, although Yun Chujia was quiet, she did not seem to be out of the ordinary. However, she spent most of her time staring at Di Baiming, who was inside the ice wall, in silence. Xue Wuji felt that it was not a good idea to continue like this, hence he advised, "Little ninth sister, it's useless for you to stay here. You should return to the primordial chaos sect. This way, when you are struck by lightning again, at least you will have a place to hide." Yun Chujia's expression changed slightly. She should indeed return to the primordial chaos sect because the sect was holding a banquet in the name of celebrating her becoming the last disciple of the two patriarchs. If she did not return, the primordial chaos sect would be disgraced. Moreover, Xue Wuji was right. Her priority now was to cultivate. She had to find a way to be struck by lightning and raise her spiritual power as soon as possible. After making a decision in her heart, Yun Chujio nodded. "Brother Wuji, you're right. I'll leave this place tomorrow morning and return to the Chaos Origin sect. I'll leave the Prince Charming to you and the little lunatic." Xue Wuji scratched his head. "Little Sister Jiu, look at what you said. Although facial paralysis isn't very likable, I'll still guard him well. If brother's injuries weren't completely healed, I would have sent you out. By the way, Brother Wuji, little madman, I haven't asked you yet. How did your injuries come about? When we came here, we met some enemies with facial paralysis. Although we killed them, the two of us also suffered some injuries. However, it's not a big problem. We'll be fine after a few days of recuperation," Xue Wuji said casually. Seeing that Xue Wuji was unwilling to say more, Yun Chujio did not ask further. She took out a lot of pills and talismans and handed them to the two for self-defense. "Oh right, Brother Wuji, did Prince Charming say anything about the Yun family and my father?" Xue Wuji shook his head. "You also know that facial paralysis is a man of few words. He did not mention much about them. However, the Yun family seems to be quite powerful. In short, it's definitely not a good thing to take you back." Yun Chujia's mouth revealed a trace of bitterness. The Mo family had brought her back for a profit, and now it was the same for the Yun family. It was the same for the Yun family, but the difference was like heaven and earth. Thinking of this, Yun Chujia's heart moved. He thought of the black bead. At that time, her grandfather, Yun Shaoun, told her that only the Yun family bloodline could make the black bead recognize her as its master. At that time, she even joked that she should be of the Yun family bloodline. Otherwise, why would the black bead recognize her as its master? It turned out that she really was of the Yun family's bloodline. However, the Yun family of the Qingxian continent should be a branch. It might have been because of some reason that it ended up in the Qingxian continent. Yun Chujio felt that in the dark, there were countless connections between things. She had suddenly disappeared when she was born. In the end, she was adopted by the Yun family, who had a bloodline connection with her. After going around and around, her surname was still Yun. Was all of this a coincidence, or was it deliberately arranged? When Yun Chujio came back to her senses, she saw Xue Wuji sitting not far away. He looked lonely and no one knew what he was thinking about. Yun Chujio walked over and asked softly, "Brother Wuji, what are you thinking about? Why are you so engrossed in your thoughts?" Yun Chujio had only asked out of concern. She did not expect Xue Wuji to be like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. He jumped up and said, "No, nothing. I'm not thinking about anything." Yun Chujio, what did he mean by confessing without beating him up? What did he mean by saying that there was no silver in this place? This was it. "Brother Wuji, I heard from my Prince Charming that you went missing for a day. When you came back, you were so happy. Could it be that you had some sort of sexual encounter? It was rare for Yun Chujio to have the mood to joke. Shue Wuji's face immediately turned red. Nonsense. What sexual encounter? That facial paralysis thought that I was him, so he went to take advantage of you for no reason. Bah. Yun Chujio looked at Shue Wuji with a faint smile. Brother Wuji, your current appearance perfectly explains what it means to have no silver in this place. Tell me what exactly is going on. I might be able to give you some advice. Shue Wuji's neck was red. It's nothing, really nothing. Well, the weather is too hot, I'll go there to cool down. Yun Chujio looked at the 10,000-year-old ice on the ground and raised her eyebrows. It seemed that Wuji really had someone he liked. Although she had always wanted to leave Wuji's head to Chi-Chi, she couldn't stop him from being happy, could she? Yun Chujio wanted to ask for an explanation, but Shue Wuji's face was flushed red. He kept looking for excuses and in the end he simply stopped approaching her. Yun Chujio shook her head. She didn't say it, then so be it. She would find out sooner or later. Seeing that Yun Chujio didn't continue to question him, Shue Wuji leaned against the ice wall and recalled what had happened before. A few days ago, Di Biming and the other two went to an abyss in the immortal Yuan continent to retrieve something. After the three of them killed the pursuers, Di Biming went in to retrieve the item. And Feng and Shue Wuji stayed behind to guard it. Since the pursuers had all been killed and there were no demonic beasts around, Shue Wuji wandered around in boredom. Seeing the spirit bees flying in the distance, he had a thought. Little Sister Jiu liked to eat honey the most, so he might as well save some for Little Sister Jiu. Thus, Shue Wuji said a word to Enfeng and leaped toward the place where the spirit bees were flying. To his surprise, Shue Wuji chased the spirit bees further and further away. He was already more than 100 miles away from where Enfeng was. Shue Wuji gritted his teeth. He had already chased them for so long, so he could not return empty-handed. Therefore he kept chasing after them. Finally, when the sun was setting, Shue Wuji found the hive. However, he did not expect that someone had already beaten him to it. A woman was cutting the beehive with a knife. Hey, leave some for me. Don't take them all away. Shue Wuji shouted shamelessly. The woman turned around and saw that she was wearing a small mask. When she saw Shue Wuji, she paused slightly. Then she looked at Shue Wuji coldly. First come, first served. Don't you understand? Shue Wuji froze on the spot as if he had been struck by lightning. Although the woman was wearing a mask, he would never forget her eyes and voice for the rest of his life. It turned out to be the woman, pervert, and wolf who ran away after eating it. Shue Wuji suddenly felt all the blood in his body concentrate on his face. His face was as red as a monkey's butt. He pointed at the woman in front of him with a trembling finger and said, You irresponsible woman, pervert wolf. Shue Wuji felt his heart ache for no reason after hearing the woman's words. He roared, You cold-hearted woman. You don't recognize me after lifting up your skirt. Have you forgotten how you raped this young master? This young master has always been as tight-lipped as jade just to find you. How dare you treat me like this? Are you still human? The more Shue Wuji spoke, the sadder he became. His bewitching phoenix eyes were filled with an injured expression. The corners of the woman's eyes twitched slightly. Her voice was still cold, but there was a hint of mockery in it. Are you sure that I raped you? Back then I was forcefully thrown onto your bed. Moreover, it was originally a consensual affair. I didn't even shout at a single woman. Don't you think it's embarrassing for a man like you to cry? Shue Wuji's eyes flashed with a trace of guilt. He hugged the woman's arm. I don't care about men or women. After all, you slept with me, so you're mine. I'm clean and pure, but I was slept with by a woman, a pervert, and a wolf. You must follow me in the future to make up for your mistakes. When the woman heard Shue Wuji's words, her cold expression seemed to crack. She looked at Shue Wuji with an expression as if she was looking at an ignorant child. It's impossible for me to go with you, but I can make it up to you. Tell me, what kind of compensation do you want? Do you want money, talismans, or pills? As long as it's not too much, I'll agree to it. As long as you don't appear in front of me again in the future. A fierce look flashed across Shue Wuji's eyes. Not going with him? That also depended on whether she had the ability to escape or not. The woman caught a glimpse of Shue Wuji's fleeting gaze. She could not help but sneer. I know what you're planning. I can leave this place at any time, but you can't keep me here. The reason I'm telling you this is because you once borrowed me and I once slept with you. Shue Wuji did not feel embarrassed at all that he had been seen through. He no longer continued to pretend to be crazy and foolish. A bewitching expression flashed across his eyes. All right, since you put it that way, it's very simple. Just let me sleep back. You're shameless. The woman's cold eyes were filled with anger. Obviously, she did not expect Shue Wuji to make such a request. I'm shameless? Who flirted with me back then? Who praised my good figure? With your flat figure, I'm the one at a disadvantage. Shue Wuji glanced at the woman. He said with slight disdain. The woman was so angry that she laughed instead. Flat from front to back? Even if I'm flat from front to back, I'm still better than you, an embroidered pillow. Shue Wuji, this damn woman was intolerable. The woman saw the coldness and madness in Shue Wuji's eyes and immediately regretted it. She took out a talisman from her storage ring and was about to activate it when Shue Wuji snatched it away. The woman had a bad feeling. Just as she was about to turn around and escape, she was restrained by Shue Wuji. The woman secretly hated that this damn man ran so slowly just now to confuse her. He was really detestable. Shue Wuji reached out his finger and took off the woman's small mask. When he saw the countless faces that appeared in his dreams, his heart palpitated. The woman saw Shue Wuji looking at her with infatuation. Her clear and cold eyes were a little uncomfortable. She said coldly, "Let me go quickly. Otherwise, once I regain my freedom, I'll kill you." Shue Wuji raised his phoenix-like eyebrows. "You have to understand that you're now my prey. I'll decide how to deal with you." The woman snorted coldly. "Prey? It's just that I accidentally fell for your scheme. Otherwise, it's hard to say who will win." Shue Wuji lowered his head and kissed the woman's lips. Originally, he just wanted to warn the woman, but he did not expect it to be out of control. Finally, Shue Wuji let go of the woman and raised his eyebrows. "Although your figure is not that good, you can still barely enter my mouth." At this time, the woman could no longer maintain her cool. Her eyes were full of anger. "Bah! You are just an embroidered pillow. What right do you have to comment on my figure?" Shue Wuji's face suddenly darkened. "Woman, you have questioned this young master's ability time and time again. It seems that I really need to let you experience it again." The woman bit her lips in annoyance. "I was talking nonsense just now. I can give you whatever compensation you want. I can give you spirit stones, pills, talismans, or spirit tools." Shue Wuji curled his lips. "In my heart, nothing is comparable to you." After saying that, Shue Wuji carried the woman and ran straight to a cave not far away. At this time, the sky had completely darkened. Although the woman was extremely vexed, she had no way to break free from Shue Wuji's imprisonment. She cursed angrily, "You actually want to force me? Are you a man? I'll show you whether I'm a man or not in a moment." "Don't worry, I'll be there soon," Shue Wuji said mockingly. At this time, Shue Wuji was very satisfied with himself. Damn woman. She wanted to run away after forcing him? This time he would definitely take back what he owed her and let her know what it meant to be a man. Obviously, the woman would not say anything soft or beg for mercy. She said coldly, "Fine, I admit defeat today. Just treat it as if I've been bitten by a dog." While cleaning the cave, Shue Wuji said faintly, "Bitten by a dog. There's no dog as handsome and extraordinary as me in this world. Woman, it's your fortune to be able to sleep with me for 8 lifetimes." The woman almost fainted from anger. How could this person be so shameless? Another small figure appeared in the woman's mind. It seemed that the upper beam was not the right beam but the lower beam was crooked. When the woman came back to her senses, she could not help but be stunned. The originally empty cave was actually decorated by Shue Wuji in an extremely festive manner. The big red carpet, the big red quilt, and even the entrance of the cave were all sealed with a red cloth. In the middle of the cave there was a table with wine, dishes, and even 2 lit red candles. Why did he have these things on him? Did he always bring these things with him? The woman felt a little strange and then she laughed at herself. It was just a little trick to win a girl's heart. Woman, in my heart you have been my wife for a long time. The woman clearly did not expect Xue Wuji to say this and was momentarily stunned. Seeing the woman's stunned expression, Xue Wuji felt that she must have been impressed by his suave, handsome, gentle and considerate manner. He had said it before. There was no woman in this world who would not like him, and this woman was no exception. As he thought of this, his face became a little smug. He raised his eyebrows and said, "Woman, you're staring at me with such affectionate eyes. Are you convinced by my charm?" The woman could not move, but her eyes revealed a trace of coldness. "It's not dark yet." Xue Wuji was stunned at first and then he became a little angry. So this meant that he was daydreaming. However, this anger quickly dissipated. Today was a good day for him to redeem himself. He could not be angered by a few words from this woman. Thinking of this, Xue Wuji smiled. "I won't stoop to your level. Come, let's have a toast first. After that, you can scold me however you want." A crafty look flashed across the woman's eyes. She could not move her hands, so she naturally could not drink the toast. As long as this scoundrel released her shackles, she would definitely teach him a lesson. Xue Wuji had clearly thought of this problem. This damnable woman was as cunning as a fox. If she were to remove her shackles, she would definitely think of a way to escape. However, if she did not remove her shackles, how would she drink the wine? When the woman saw Xue Wuji's troubled expression, she curled the corners of her lips in disdain. Xue Wuji suddenly chuckled. When the woman was puzzled, she saw Xue Wuji take a sip of wine and then bend over to feed her the wine. The woman was both embarrassed and angry. How could she drink wine like this after exchanging a cup? Xue Wuji obviously felt that this method was really wonderful. In the blink of an eye, he fed the woman half a pot of spiritual wine. The woman's cold face gradually turned red. Xue Wuji hooked the woman's chin and said with an evil charm, "Woman, after exchanging a cup of wine and drinking it, it's time to do something interesting." Perhaps because of the spirit wine, the woman's expression was not so cold. She said provocatively, "Do you think I'm afraid of you? You're just a defeated opponent." Xue Wuji gritted his teeth. This woman could always easily provoke him. She was really detestable to the extreme. He would definitely let her know what it meant to be a husband. Thinking of this, Xue Wuji punched the ice wall beside him in embarrassment and anger. Damn woman. For some reason, that woman actually broke free from his restraint. When Xue Wuji thought that the woman would escape, she actually did not leave. It was exactly the same as before. Xue Wuji was too tired. Although he tried his best to stay awake, he eventually fell asleep. When he woke up, the woman was no longer in the cave. However, there was a piece of spirit stone on the table and a note under it. Xue Wuji was a little excited. Was this the address he left for him? Was she asking him to look for her in the future? He hurriedly walked over and saw only 2 words on the note: wages. Xue Wuji was so angry that he almost vomited blood. What the fuck? He was only worth 1 spirit stone. And it was even a low-grade spirit stone. Xue Wuji hurriedly left the cave. Naturally, he could not find any trace of the woman. He angrily shouted, "Woman! Just you wait. The next time I see you, I will teach you a lesson." Unfortunately, his roar was in vain. The woman had long disappeared, so naturally she could not hear his words. It was just his self-consolation. You're tuning in to the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.